Well, good evening to everyone on Facebook as well as on 5+. Meteorologist Scott Covert here, joined by meteorologist Zach Scott, doing double duty today to the morning show. Got everyone prepared and weather ready. And now we actually have severe storms moving through the area. There you go. We have live radar showing one severe thunderstorm that eventually, well, now moving into parts of western Benton and northwestern Washington County. I actually have a second severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to be in parts of Benton, Carroll, and far northern Madison County. Right now, you see these storms really just starting to erupt back off towards the west. This yellow box here, that's actually our tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock tonight. What that watch means, and of course I know a lot of folks know this, but we also have a lot of new folks that live around these parts that may not be familiar with actual severe weather coverage and kind of the things that we look for. That tornado watch just means conditions are favorable for the quick development of a tornado. Not seeing any rotation as of this moment, but we've been keeping our close eye on this specific cell here. You notice that appendage right there just to the north of Christie? That's certainly a concerning structure for us. And as it moves a little bit closer, it's soon going to move near Siloam Springs and then far northwestern Washington County, north of Lincoln. That specific cell actually producing a little bit of hail. In fact, hail in excess of 1 inch in diameter. This other cell to the north that just moved through Bentonville, it's also producing some hail. Looks like that's up to about 1 inch as well. We knew going into today that there was going to be a lot of storm fuel available for these thunderstorms to tap into. And that's what they're doing. As they move into the area, they're really erupting quite quickly because of the abundance of energy that's in the atmosphere. And that often lends itself to some really strong updrafts. So if you think of an updraft, it's going to be this wind rising upward really quickly. And what that does is it takes raindrops, pushes them so high in the atmosphere where the temperature is below freezing, freezes them, and you get hailstones. Those hailstones will drop, and then they'll get sucked back in by that updraft, and that process just continues to repeat over and over and over again until you eventually have some large hail. That's what we're seeing. We noticed those hail cores continuing. It looks like that one may be weakening just a bit as it gets closer to Siloam Springs. Bentonville, we've had that hail move through. This second storm is going to bring some hail into Carroll County. Here's Berryville. It's still well off to your west. It's about to exit out of Benton into Carroll County, but some hail is certainly going to be possible with that specific storm there as well. Of course, we've been looking for rotation. We wanted to give everyone a heads up, so we're joining you here on our digital platforms this evening. If a tornado warning is issued, we'll certainly go on air on Channel 5, so you can count on that. And of course, our radio partners at iHeartMedia will simulcast our coverage should that become necessary. Right now, we look at the winds. Yeah, there's probably some gusty winds coming out of this storm. It is a supercell, but we're not finding an area where those reds are really tightly wound up with the greens. That would be a couplet, a rotation couplet, Doppler radar indicated rotation. Not seeing that out there this evening. Certainly some damaging winds could be coming out of that cell, especially on the downdraft side. You see all that lightning right there and how that storm really just evolved to from what was just a shower into a pretty healthy thunderstorm. You look at the lightning count, that's one of those ways you just tell the health of a thunderstorm. The more lightning, the stronger it is, especially it's a good indicator of how strong that updraft is. So certainly got some healthy thunderstorms getting ready to move into northwest Arkansas. Now, for the sake of the immediate future, over the next hour or so, it looks like northwest Arkansas takes the brunt of the hit initially as that line moves in. But we take a wider perspective. We've got these showers and these storms really evolving really quickly over the last 45 minutes alone. That'll eventually move into the river valley. So while you've got a little bit longer to tidy things up in the yard, maybe run an errand or two before the storms hit, just know that they are eventually going to be moving into the area. We expect a line of storms to develop. Right now, a lot of these cells are a bit more discrete, isolated in nature. Once that line sweeps on through, that's when we see that threat shift primarily to a damaging wind threat. Could be broken line at times. You kind of see that right now. In fact, if you're to travel along I-40 west of Fort Smith, west of Sallisaw there, probably not going to see much at all. But eventually that is all going to congeal into a solid line of storms, packing a punch of some damaging winds. Not seeing that in those specific cells right now, but gosh, that's over the last, Zach, that's looping over the last 30 minutes. I was wrong. 30 minutes, we've gone from 0 to 60 pretty quick. And that rapid growth is certainly going to continue to be the trend as those storms get closer to the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. Right now, 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that next cell and maybe some of those cells further off towards the southwest don't evolve into supercells producing damaging winds. against large hail as well. Northwest Arkansas seeing some heavy rain. I'm looking at some of our iCams. In fact, it wouldn't hurt if we could. Danny, our executive producer, tracking these storms with us, taking a live look at Springdale, looking off towards the west. So here's going to be Springdale. We're looking back into that cell. So we'd probably be seeing some frequent lightning. If it was darker, perhaps we start to see some of that cloud to ground lightning here real soon. Certainly Siloam Springs, you're hearing the thunder, right? That's that severe storm moving through. We keep an eye on this inflow notch right here. You got that appendage. That's going to be just to the northwest of Lincoln. So if you're in Lincoln and you just happen to be looking to the northwest, you might see the most concerning part of that storm. That's not necessarily an invitation to go outside and try to see it. If you're in the warning polygon, Lincoln is not at the moment. The immediate threat's going to pass just to the north of Lincoln. Fayetteville's not in the warning, neither is Johnson, Springdale, but should that storm continue on its current path, I wouldn't be surprised to see at least parts of northern Fayetteville, Johnson, Springdale, and then eventually Rogers back in an additional warning, unless that is certainly going to weaken. I don't see any signs of that necessarily right now. Zach, I would like to just take another look at winds just to make sure we don't have anything rotating. These can spin up quickly, and it perhaps is showing some signs of some rotation right there. Zach, what do you think? If we back that up, maybe a couple of scans, it's a bit more organized than it was.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do sweeping radar again too to see see if we can match up. If it'll work for me here, get it to load. There's a little bit of a notch there. Which
is right where that rotation is.
Yeah.
So that checks out. Perhaps that's a mesocyclone trying to come together, producing a little bit of rotation. That's when we started our internet stream here. That's what it looked like, but perhaps we're getting a bit more organization there. So folks to the south of Siloam Springs, I would include Siloam Springs in this as well. Perhaps you got a little bit of rotation trying to move your direction. We want to keep a close eye on that. The rotation in and of itself right now, it's pretty weak. But again, these situations can really evolve very quickly. That's why we fired up the stream for you this evening, just to walk you through those storms as they roll through. We'll get a couple more scans in. If that rotation continues to strengthen, I would expect a warning to be issued, but certainly right now staying below warning thresholds. We'll just need to monitor that. Not seeing a lot of rotation necessarily with this northern storm, but perhaps there's some pockets of wind definitely coming out of it. Those winds can be breezy. Those straight line winds, 60 to 80 miles per hour, are going to be a possibility for us.
Yeah, and again, you were talking about those storms to the southwest of Tahlequah. Lightning ticking up quickly with those, so that's one indication of them getting stronger. And then again, looking at some of these hail cores, my wife sent me some video of when the thunderstorm that's now warned for that hail core to the east of Bentonville, that had some pea and dime size hail with it, but it's ticked up to where we've had some reports of hail just under 1 inch around the Bentonville area. So it's right around that 1 inch range there to the east, and so we can try to watch that as well. And then this hail core to the south of Siloam Springs. Those are the main threats that we're watching right now. But certainly can be indicators of how these storms are kind of evolving.
It tells you the updrafts in these storms are certainly strong. Now, to get a tornado, you got to have a healthy updraft and healthy downdraft. So at least we have one part of that component going for us right now. Looks like that severe thunderstorm warning for Adair, Benton, Cherokee, and Delaware counties. That's going to continue. Could see 60-mile-per-hour winds in addition to quarter-size hail coming out of that storm.
So they updated it to half-dollar-size hail, which when we do look at reflectivity, I mean, I know it's a little bit harder to see here. We'll go to the mosaic. See if we can. I mean, it's definitely showing, and it's pulsing up and down at times, which really just means it's building up that hail core, then it's dropping it and building it up again. But this is part of that evolution of this storm that we've been watching for a while. It's just slowly getting a little bit more organized, getting the updraft and downdrafts in the right spot. And I think this is the one that, if we were going to watch over time, certainly looks like it would be the hail core that we'd want to watch for potentially much larger hail trying to develop.
Yeah, no question about it. In fact, I wonder if it wouldn't be worth our time to put a track on this, starting perhaps at the state line. Let's track that into Benton and even parts of Washington County. What I'd like to do is give folks that might not be in the warning yet, perhaps an early heads up. If we can save some folks some time, that'd certainly be helpful. These storms moving, let's see, how quick are they moving? 35 miles an hour. That's good to know. That other storm that's moving into Carroll County, that actually is moving a little bit quicker. So this one moving at 35 miles an hour, Zach's going to draw this out to the northeast. And what we'll do is be able to give some folks an estimated time of arrival. Again, it's just estimated, assuming that the storm maintains its current track and speed, which I think thus far it has most of this evening. Siloam Springs is pretty much right on you right now. Highfield 712, the airport 718. Northern Fayetteville 733, Prairie Creek 742, War Eagle 753, Hinesville 802, and if it maintains itself into Eureka, that would be your second storm, not the one that's about to move into Eureka, but the second storm right around 813. I think that storm very well could hold together. I don't see there's anything that's going to slow these storms down necessarily, other than perhaps themselves. In fact, I was curious, Zach, if we could take the track off, let's zoom out. I want to see what's actually to the southwest of this cell. So sometimes what we see happen are these cells, they'll pulse up, but they begin competing with each other. They begin interacting with each other. And perhaps we're starting to see some influence from this southern development moving through Tahlequah. That's back further a little bit off towards the west. Sometimes that can impede the upscale growth of these thunderstorms. You really want to see a line. Not to say a tornado can't develop in a line. It happens often, right? But you really don't want to see these cells individualized or discrete, isolated out there by themselves. So in one sense, the storm mode shifting from discrete to a linear structure is good for us. Again, damage is damage, whether it's a tornado or straight line winds. Don't want to discriminate between the two, but I think we would all agree damaging straight line winds would be preferable over just a tornado for most folks. What do you say we take a look back in velocities? I'm still seeing that inflow notch right there. It's not as pronounced as it once was. I'll keep my finger here to see if that matches up with any actual rotation.
I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more on
Sure.
that storm, and then we can do that as well.
Okay, right here, just to the north of Westville, south of Watts. Watts, boy, it's coming down hard. That lightning is pretty frequent as well. I'll be honest, I don't see anything too concerning. There was perhaps some rotation trying to develop, not holding itself together. The last few scans, not seeing anything evident. That's good, right? That's the news we want to hear tonight. Don't want a tornado. Really don't want anything to happen. But it does look like a severe thunderstorm getting ready to move across Oklahoma into Arkansas, western Benton County, Gentry, Siloam, Watts under this severe thunderstorm warning. It does also include portions of northwestern Washington County. Got some hail coming out of this storm. Right now, that storm is going to be capable of producing $half size hail. That's large, right? That's going to do some damage to your roofs and to your vehicles. No question about it. We'll need to watch to see if it's not going to continue to pulse up. Given the storm fuel that's in place, the energy that's above us, these storms are going to be capable of really strong updrafts, which would support larger size hailstones. In the worst of worst storms, you could see 2 to 4 inches. We're talking baseball size hail. I don't think that's going to be common, right? But I'm afraid that the energy would support at least a couple of storms producing some of that significant sized hail.
Yeah, and that hail core is right on top of Watts right now. So the hail core associated with this warning here is south of Siloam Springs. Siloam Springs is going to have a lot of rainfall and some strong winds right now and lightning in the area, and maybe some small hailstones coming down. But the potential for the largest hail, which right now we're warning for up to around $half size, that is going to be in a tight hail core south of Siloam Springs, more around the Watts area, and that is tracking almost due east. It's going to go into far southwestern areas of Benton County, just to the south of Highway 412.
X and A certainly going to get that rain here real soon. Silo Falls, Springdale, Johnson, Fayetteville, Greenland. It eventually will make its way your direction. The worst of storms certainly going to be this one right here. You're right. Watts is probably seeing where that hail core is. I really liked how you turned on the composite feature earlier. If you don't mind, let's do that. That's going to really drill down and give us a really clear-cut picture of where the hail potentially is. You see this white color here? That's radar determining what is at the radar beam level. That's not to say hail's making it to the ground necessarily, but it certainly looks very plausible that that is where we're going to see that hail core. You take a look at just the hail tracker alone, you can see where those hailstones have been falling over time. This is going to be the last 15 minutes alone. So that Watts area probably starting to see some of that hail. Looks like it might actually trying to be taking, I think you pointed this out, more of an easterly track, whereas earlier it was tracking more towards the northeast. You can kind of see how that warning polygon is oriented more northeasterly. That hail core maybe taking more of an easterly track. So if that warning is extended, I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps it doesn't reflect that different direction.
And I was going to point out, too, again, the hail core for the northern storm spiked up. They have canceled that severe thunderstorm warning for Benton County. Spiked up right there just to the west of Prairie Creek. But now that storm is pushed quickly off towards the east. Light hail falling on the county line of Benton and Carroll counties there. But good news is that storm is pulsed down, and it is shifting out of Benton County quickly into Carroll County. If you live somewhere around Beaver Lake, you've probably got some small hail in your area for the next 5 to 15 minutes, I would say.
I'd say that's probably P to perhaps penny-size hail, judging by the trajectory of that over the last little bit. Good news is, yes, that it has pulsed down. As everyone knows, is often the case with these storms, they can pulse right back up, right? So we keep our close eye. We don't let our guard down necessarily just because we're on a downward trend at the moment. You got to see if things don't pick back up. This storm, though, I'll tell you, perhaps we're starting to see that upswing yet again, starting to see that hail core expand. I continue to see with those last couple of scans, maybe more of an eastwardly track. Still certainly some hail in the Watts community. Siloam, we're probably seeing some hail. I think the worst is going to be to the south of Siloam Springs. Gentry's in the warning, but not seeing a lot of significant severe hail there in Gentry.
Yeah, and again, it's storms, you know, when we were looking at it about 30 minutes ago, it was a little more organized, looked like an individual supercell. Now these other storms have started to build in on the other end. It's still got a little bit of that, what we would call a notch there just to the north of Westville. So an area that we would look at for some inflow. But certainly these storms to the southwest, look how quickly they caught up and are now starting to get a little messy there on the west and southwest side. You
know, you often don't like messy, but I'll tell you, as a meteorologist looking to diagnose what's happening out there in the atmosphere, I'll tell you, messy may be good for us. I think what's happening here is we spun this supercell up and it didn't have much interaction to the southwest with other storms. It was in an environment almost all to itself, which allowed it to really strengthen and take a nice organized shape. But given the explosive upgrowth of those storms moving through Tahlequah right now and back towards the further the southwest you go, perhaps that's actually undercutting some of that growth. Do we let our guard down? No, I still think we're about to have a nice hailstorm through at least parts of the area. But perhaps that's at least mitigating some of the organization that would be required to produce a tornado in the immediate near future over the next few minutes. Not going to rule it out later this evening by any means, but as of right now, I think we're trending in more of a hail with that storm being more linear, perhaps some damaging winds coming out of it as well.
Yeah, and again, sometimes when the atmosphere, we've talked about this before, when the atmosphere is so primed like it is today with so much moisture, so much fuel, we always kind of paint worst case scenario. Okay, if there is a storm or two that can tap into all that available energy, this is what it can do. It can produce very large hail. It could produce a tornado, potentially some damaging wind gusts. But sometimes when the atmosphere is so primed, storms just explode so fast, and then it just becomes, like we were talking about, messy. You get a lot of rain, you get some hail, but you don't get enough, you don't allow enough time for these individual thunderstorms to kind of just stay out there on their own because so much rain wants to just kind of explode.
That's right. Yeah, we have a high degree of storm fuel, nearly off the charts for this time of year. One of the ingredients that you have to look at for tornadic development, tornadogenesis, is wind shear. And that could be the changing of wind speed with height. It could also be changing of directions of the wind with height. And we have a modest level of storm shear in place. Now, sometimes that high storm fuel can compensate for the lower degree of wind shear, but not always, right? So not a perfect setup by any means. Looks like they've just actually dropped that warning for that cell coming into western Washington and western Benton counties. That's good news. Still, I think there's probably some hail falling out of it that just would be less hail than what was initially warned for, right below that 1-inch threshold.
I mean, I'm still seeing hail cores on all of our radars that we have here, and still some indications of potentially quarter-size hail just to the south and southeast of Watts. Again, if you're watching us and you live along Highway 412 from Siloam Springs through Tawnytown and into Springdale, The hail core is going to stay to the south side of that. And again, anywhere within that downdraft there, we could get some small hail, but the main cluster of it is staying just to the south of Highway 412, and it's right along the Benton and Washington County line.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Looks like we've been reissued there. That warning now popping back up for that storm. Fayetteville, Prairie Grove, Westville now included in that brand new severe thunderstorm warning, as is Rogers. Perhaps there was just a bit of a data issue there. I wasn't too confident that they would allow that warning to drop, so I'm happy to see it coming
Agreed.
back. Also might see a bit more of that hook there maintaining itself now into parts of western Washington County, starting to be a bit more pronounced there. So brand new severe thunderstorm warning. If you have the free mobile app, the 5 News app on your cell phones, it's alerting you right now to the severe thunderstorm warning if you live in that polygon. If you don't have the app, go ahead and download it so we can send you these warnings anytime they're issued, whether that's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. You'll get to decide how much warnings you want to receive and those types of things. They're certainly a good tool to have in your tool chest alongside NOAA weather radio, television, of course, things like that. Zach, while we maintain this is the most impressive storm at the moment, the strongest, there's a couple of things I'm looking at off screen, back off towards the southwest, near Lake Eufaula. If you could take us there, perhaps near the Vian area, I do think we might be seeing some more impressive structure just to the west of Sims. You see that hook echo there? Now, here's what could happen. There's no question to me right now that storm's trying to blossom into a very classic supercell. You see the hook echo, you see that strong updraft, you see the fanning out of the downdraft, but I'm afraid, well, I would say I'm happy to say that what might happen is this southern development may undercut it. So we might see that continue to merge into a line and prevent that supercell from really taking shape and being independent out there on his own. So here's Tamaha, here's Sallisaw, here's Vian. That storm, no matter whether it's an individual supercell or if it congeals into a line, that's going to be impacting you folks there in Sallisaw probably, let's say, within the next hour, maybe even a little bit sooner. So certainly something to keep note of there. Those storms are going to make their way into the River Valley. River Valley is not going to be immune to this storm system. We'll have storms move through. It just may be a little bit later on account for the orientation of that line, more southwest to northeast or vice versa, depending on how you look at it. Severe thunderstorm warning there continues for Adair, Benton, and Washington counties. Not seeing any rotation with that system just yet. Here's your hook near Porham. Don't see any rotation there. If you want to go back, Zach, I know you were just there. I missed it. Also seeing an uptick in the lightning tells us that's certainly organizing. Certainly perhaps a mesocyclone trying to develop there as that storm approaches Porham. What Zach's doing is he's looping it over the last 15 minutes or so, and we're not seeing any significant rotation, certainly some organizing there happening. We might be in the early stages with something trying to happen there. If you were to track that out off towards the east-northeast, I would put that probably in the Vian and Sallisaw area if I had to guess.
I could track it out. Let's do, let me put it on the sweep, and just based off the speed here over the last 15 minutes, it's probably in that 35-mile-per-hour range.
I think you're right. Most of them have been.
I could do the whole line here, and we could get a little look at the River Valley.
Sure, that'd be a great idea.
Okay, let me pull that up.
Looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Pushmataha County, and that's not technically in our viewing area, but for any of the folks that might be tuned into our digital stream here this evening in Pushmataha County, 1-inch L, 60-mile-per-hour winds coming your direction with a severe thunderstorm warning. So putting that into motion, Sallisaw 736, Gann 751. How about Muldrow at 8 o'clock, Roland 809, Cedarville area, leading edge of that storm in your neck of the woods around 816. These are estimates, pretty good estimates based off current storm speeds, but just keep in mind, should that storm system speed up, you might not have as much lead time as what's currently projected. Those storms though, boy, they're taking shape. These individual cells, they look very concerning. Yeah. Knowing they're growing upstream into more of a linear structure gives me some degree of relief, but I still know that we could have embedded areas of rotation even within a line system. That cell certainly expanding pretty quickly.
Yeah, and again, we're still watching storms off towards the southwest. So I know we spent a lot of time on northwest Arkansas where our lone severe storm is, but there's still storms developing down in North Texas along the Red River. And so we've got our eyes on those if they track towards Latimer, Haskell, Laflore counties, potentially maybe later on Scott County, areas off to our far south. So we're expecting this line. It could be broken. There could certainly be some gaps, but we think it's going to fill in some spots. And there's a good chance that, like you've said this evening already, a lot of us are going to see some rain and some thunderstorms. Not everyone's going to see severe storms. It's those few severe storms at times that do have us a little concerned with the explosive atmosphere that we really kind of have around today.
So, Danny, what I'd like to do, if it's possible, you can tell me if it's not. I'd like to take a tour around 5 Country via our extensive camera network. In fact, I'm looking at the Choctaw camera, and I know it's pointed towards the west in Oklahoma. What I can actually see is the anvil of one of those thunderstorms. So the camera that we're going to be pulling up is right here, and it's looking towards the west into that one cell that'll eventually move into the Vian area. And while we don't see anything impressive, it looks like because of the way the sun is setting and illuminating the upper levels of that storm, the anvil structure, which is one of those things you often look for as a storm spotter or a storm chaser. I think we can see that. They're working on it, pulling us up, and it'll eventually be on your screen here. In the meantime, we'll stick with this storm. You guys just tell me whenever you're ready. Fayetteville, severe storm about to move through Prairie Grove. Things are about to get windy, wet, and perhaps even some hailstones falling from this thunderstorm. Up to 1-inch hail will be possible with that specific storm. Looking live from Choctaw Casino here. You see that at the top of your screen. That's the anvil on top of that storm. If you were to assess this, in fact, I can actually do it off screen if you want to leave that up. What we're able to do is see just how high up in the atmosphere that storm cloud is billowing. It looks like we're up to about 50,000 feet. So just keep in mind, commercial airliners travel, generally speaking, at around 30,000 feet. And this storm is extending now up to 50,000. So you think about the hail potential.
Yeah, and Scott, that hail core has ticked up there to the northwest of Prairie Grove. Radar estimating close to 2 inches.
Let's take Max 1 back behind me. Thank you, Danny, for pulling that camera up. I'll keep an eye on it. Here's what Zach's talking about. That hail core just to the north of Lincoln, definitely upticked right there. This storm is not giving up yet. So folks, anywhere between Johnson, Fayetteville, Greenland, Prairie Grove, back off towards the west, that hail core is moving your direction. We track this out over the next, let's say, 40 minutes or so. Here's where we would expect that. Weddington, 708. Farmington, 725. Razorback Stadium, if you live anywhere close to there, around 7:30 for Fayetteville. Harris at 7:45. I really hope that storm pulses down before dumping that hailstorm right in the city of Fayetteville. Right now, though, potentially 2-inch size hail heading towards Fayetteville. It's moving at about 35, at times 40 miles per hour. So we got a little bit of time if you want to try to move those cars in your garage. But just know this, they're going to be here pretty soon. Right now, current time here at the station is 7:09. So have a few minutes to go before that moves through. But it certainly looks like that storm is going to cause some hail issues. And I say Weddington, that's probably going to be the community of Weddington. But eventually, even off of Weddington there, off of Fayetteville, off of 49, extending into West Fayetteville, that storm's certainly probably going to be producing some hail there as well. Looks like it's going to stay just to the south of 412, between 62 and 412.
Yep, and that is our main storm, Scott. That is certainly our strongest one. The other one's still coming in just off towards the west, but this is the one that is the strongest one in our viewing area here, and it's the one that certainly bears watching the most, coming right into the west side of Fayetteville. And the hail core, I think it's going to stay just to the north of Prairie Grove, and then it's going to be possibly taking a straight line towards Farmington.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think folks in Farmington definitely need to know that hail is moving through. Last couple of scans, not changing any at all. It's maintaining itself as it does. So here's the thing, and it kind of sounds like a broken record. We know these storms are moving into an environment that is going to continue to be favorable for these storms to tap into the energy and the storm fuel that's in the air. It's been warm, it's been humid, energy levels are pretty high. Things that we track to assess storm environment, it's all pretty high here. The only thing we don't have is necessarily a lot of shear, which is probably why we're not seeing as much rotation. Good news in one sense, bad news in the sense of these updrafts are going to certainly go up pretty high. They're going to support some very towering thunderstorms. In fact, if you were to look outside off towards the west and northwest, you probably are going to see some pretty tall storm structures, and that's why we're starting to see that hail moving into the area. Lightning's there, quite a bit of those lightning strikes. I'm hearing the rumbles of thunder from our studios here in Johnson. Rain's picked up. It's going to continue here. Looks like they've updated that warning. It's flashing. That tells me something's happening.
Waiting for that information to come in too.
Waiting for that to come in. There's been an update. It's possible they just trimmed some folks. It's possible they updated the actual threat language with regards to hail size, which is probably my guess as to what's happening. In effect until 7:45 for Washington County. Parts of Benton County southern Benton County is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. And I'm not going to tell you you're not going to have hail, but I will tell you the worst of which is probably actually going to stay in Washington County.
They bumped it up to ping pong ball size hail possible with this warm storm.
Ping pong size hail. Zach, you nailed it first. You pinpointed that 2-inch hail potential out a few minutes ago.
And I even think that hail core that we initially were looking at a couple minutes ago, I think it dropped a lot of that, but I think the hail core is recharging as we speak.
I believe you're probably correct. In addition to that, Haskell County, Muskogee County, Sequoia County, you're now under a severe thunderstorm warning. 1-inch hail. 60-mile-per-hour winds for you folks. This cell now warned for the potential of ping-pong size hail that's going to move just to the north of Prairie Grove, likely through Farmington. Here's Fayetteville, probably about to get some hail. I'm afraid we're going to be seeing that unless this thing really pulses down really quickly. Here's Highway 62 that runs between Prairie Grove and Farmington. If you live along 62 there, I think the worst of the hail may stay just to your north. Certainly going to be pretty close for comfort there. Here's going to be I-49, just for some context. If you live along 49 between Greenland and, let's say, the Fulbright Expressway, you're probably going to have some hail. Zach's putting a track on this at its current speed. That takes it into Farmington at 7:19, so we have a matter of just a few minutes to go. Puts it at Drake Field at the airport, 7:25. Downtown Fayetteville, 7:26. Perhaps that's speeding up. Those minutes are a few minutes sooner,
45 miles per hour now.
Yeah, no question about it. Baldwin, 7:30, McNair Middle School. Here we have the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce camera. Go for that. Where's this? Okay, so I'm trying to get my perspective here. This is pointing west. Here's campus. Here's the bell tower. That's going to be a pretty good shot. Just given the orientation of this camera, that's going to be a pretty good shot of that storm as it moves through. So just for some context, this camera is on the downtown Fayetteville Square atop the Chamber of Commerce. You're looking towards Donald W. Reynolds Stadium there. Bell tower here. You got that nice clear slot, darkening of the clouds here. This is probably where your downdraft is going to be. These are where those ping pong size hailstones likely about to move into town. Ping pong size hail, that's large, folks. It's growing too. I hope it stops there, but it's certainly going to be possible.
Yeah, and again, sometimes I do want to remind folks, between our reflectivity, which shows the reds and the oranges and the pinks, the actual rainfall, between that and the hail core, when we go look at the hail being depicted on radar, the hail core is usually lagging a little bit further behind.
Right.
So it's already, that last image we showed you, the hail core's picked back up now, and it's almost just north of Prairie Grove, really taking a beeline towards Farmington and Fayetteville. Farmington and Fayetteville has a hail core that is that's making a run for it.
Okay, so we're about to take a look from a camera that sits right here. Here's the Fulbright Expressway. We're looking off towards the south. Looks like we've got some heavy rain slowing some folks down on I-49. Looking back towards downtown Fayetteville. This is looking from the Fulbright Expressway. Here's your storm. Here's the lowering of those clouds. Not seeing any rotation with it as of the last check. Right now, this is primarily a hailmaker. This is certainly one of those hailers. Zach, I'm looking at what you're seeing over there. Maybe it's come down only just a little bit, but boy, Farmington, get ready. You're about to have hail move through. If you know someone in Farmington, call them. If they got a garage they can put their car in, it's probably a good bet to do it. I'm afraid we're about to have some hail damage move into Farmington before eventually moving into West Fayetteville.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit closer. This image right here is still just a little bit delayed by a couple of minutes. So it's a little bit further along than it's actually showing here on radar. It's a little bit more north of Prairie Grove.
Zach, what I'd like to do, just knowing we do have some other warnings and we have other impactful storms, let's zoom out. Let's go area wide. Just get an idea. Make sure nothing's misbehaving out there other than this specific storm. Right now, severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Washington County. Looks like while we were in that one storm that we've been tracking, let's take a tighter look here. This specific cell, it's one that had a really good organization to it, had a bit of a hook echo. I likely suspect there's some southern influence preventing it from growing too much stronger, but now severe thunderstorm warning, it does include Sallisaw. That warning specifically, if you can do an off-air query of that, I can read it on this screen over here. Right, there you go. Perfect, right there. 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-size hail. That storm specifically has a structure to it that is concerning. You see that hook. This is one of those supercells that hopefully it gets caught up in this line. Hopefully it's not able to survive on its own. If it does, it could be a problem for us. Heads up, folks, in Vian. Here's Gore, Oklahoma, right? Here's Vian. Here's going to be Sallisaw right here. And that storm is going to move on in.
Do you want to take a look at velocity?
I'd love that. Yeah, let's do that. There's something there. It's messy. It's weak. That's some weak rotation, but it's trying to come together there. Perhaps that's just the beginning stages of a mesocyclone trying to develop. That'd be one of those early indicators that we're getting some more organization with that storm. It's kind of got that stinger to it, right?
Yeah.
You see that little tail? I don't like that. I don't like it at all. It's certainly got that shape. I hope that changes soon. I hope some of this activity here near Stigler, that rain, I hope it just undercuts it.
Yeah, and you would almost expect with that, again, like you called it, the little stinger there, the little back end, with what we're seeing here, the structure, you would expect some sort of maybe very weak, very broad rotation, but you would expect a little bit of a spin there.
I think so. We're going to have to pay close attention to that one. Okay, how about going back out wide again? Let's see what else we got out there we need to tackle. While we're here, some continued development back off towards the southwest. All of that's going to come to the River Valley. This stuff right here, I know folks in the River Valley are saying, what's going on? Thought we were supposed to have storms tonight. Look, we are. This thing got going a little bit later. The upper level energy didn't come in as quickly as expected, but it's happening now. It is producing large hail in northwest Arkansas. It's producing some supercell structure in eastern Oklahoma. Supercells continue to develop along the Oklahoma-Texas state line near the Red River. So that's all going to be tracking our direction. Let's go back into this storm as we got that hail moving back into the area. I'm keeping my eye on that Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce camera. At any point we can pull that back up, I'd like to do just that. In the meantime, here's your downdraft. You can see those pinks and those purples there. Let's go back to the hail product, and that's going to pinpoint exactly where that hail is. It's a little bit delayed, as Zach has pointed out, so expect this core of hail, which does show some signs of weakening, right?
Yeah, they lowered it to $half size hail. And again, just like these storms cycle, and these hail cores, like we talked about, they can pulse up, they drop. So sometimes when we look at it, say it's weakening, well, for somebody, they just got, ping
pong size hail.
They just got pounded. Yes,
Yep.
the hail core just dropped out on top of them. Strong storms in the environment today will have no issues reloading here as they continue further east.
Zach, I'd like to take a look at the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce camera. This is our live iCam that sits in downtown Fayetteville, right on the square. And you can see right into that storm. Just for some context of where we're looking at, get your bearings straight. Here's the football stadium. Here's the bell tower at U of A. So you're looking right into the heart of that storm. You got frequent lightning. It's approaching West Fayetteville. We're going to see some hail. The question now is just how big or small is that hail? It was ping pong size hail about 5 minutes ago. Latest indications via Doppler radar suggest that maybe that hail core is not as impressive. But as Zach just said, these storms are notorious for pulsing up and pulsing down. Even though we might be coming down, that's not to say it doesn't pulse back up here real soon, and that's not to say you're not going to have hail. The question is it ping pong or is it quarter size? It's hail nonetheless, certainly could cause some damage. Really good shot out there from downtown Fayetteville. Looking live from Fort Smith now, this is at ACHE. Wow, boy, that is some structure looking off towards the west. Here's going to be your updraft, and you can see that expansive, wow, that expansive anvil cloud on the leading edge of that. You know, when we look off towards the west this time of night, we get that sunset to illuminate the backside of that storm. You can see this impressive tower starting to go up on the south side of that storm as well. Is that an airplane or is that a bird? I'm not sure what that is. Flying towards that thunderstorm, probably got a pretty impressive view if that is. So this is going to be in Fort Smith, looking back to the west where there is a supercell trying to come together that now is severe thunderstorm warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. Certainly see some really impressive storm structure here. That, while it is a ways away from the river valley, it is getting a little bit closer. Back to Fayetteville we go. Chamber of Commerce camera looking towards the west. Here's going to be your hail core. It's probably going to move out of the view of our camera. If we're able to pan any further towards the west, we can try, but I know there's probably going to be some buildings in the way. You can see the inflow, those winds. In fact, look at the flags there. Pretty good indicator of where those winds are blowing. And boy, they're gusty coming out of that storm. That's going to be your secondary threat with this. It's not just the hail, which is now getting a little bit closer. Looks like we've got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning perhaps, or maybe it's just updated. You're also going to have damaging winds coming out of this storm, up to 60 miles per hour. Still in effect until 7:45 this evening, so we still have about 24 more minutes to go before that's allowed to expire. I'm going to look on my offhand computer here.
They just lowered it to quarter-size hail, so that's a great trend for us.
Folks that live along Ruppel Road, Razorback Stadium, you're next. That hail core is going to be on top of you, but really just a matter of minutes if it's not already. You probably got some heavy rain picking up. You're going to see the smaller hail first. We're talking pea size. It'll eventually grow to dime size, to quarter size. Hopefully we continue to see that lower. As we've looped this over just the last 15 minutes, I know it's speeding up really quick. It's tough to get to, for your eyes to really process what's going on. But it's evolving that quickly, right? This is a loop over the last 15 minutes. It's coming down. You see those, oh boy, you see those dark blues over there? That's certainly some strong downdraft. That's a large hailstone falling out of that storm. Thankfully, it's lowering a bit as it approaches Farmington and Fayetteville, but hail nonetheless, quarter size expected at this moment. This specific storm, as it's moved out of Oklahoma into Arkansas, it's been pulsing up and pulsing down, so we don't let our guard down with it yet. If you know anyone outside in Farmington or Fayetteville, it's probably a good idea to pull those folks inside. I-49, this to me looks like this is the Stephen Carr exit. Is that correct? Stephen Carr looking towards the south right into that storm. So this is the exit just to the north of the Weddington exit. This time of night, a lot of folks heading home from work, from school, after school events. Traffic gets really busy here. Those folks traveling right into a hail core. Boy, oh boy, that's gonna not be good for those folks that might be stuck on 49. Quarter size hail falling out of that storm, in addition to the heavy rain and gusty winds coming out as that moves into Washington County.
We had a report at 7:16. I'll actually back this up to 7:16. 2 miles north of Farmington, reporting just under quarter size hail, and you can see that that's that lightest gray shading right there. So that was as the hail core was just getting there. So we'll see here shortly. I think we're going to have some. We'll have some reports certainly come in. But if we were already getting just under quarter size hail there, I would expect some quarters, maybe a little bit larger than that, some quarters, $half size hail likely coming into the west side of Fayetteville.
I think you're exactly right. I'm afraid that's probably going to be happening any moment now as well, just given the delay in radar. There's a couple other things to keep in mind as well. We're coming to you via the World Wide Web, so there's going to be a bit of a delay even in my voice getting to your mobile device or your laptops. So occasionally you're going to hear Zach and I call out current times, and that's just for you to compare with what your actual time is, and you can judge the delay based off of that. 7:24 currently here at our 5 News television stations. We are tracking a severe thunderstorm warning moving into Washington County. Large hail, as expected, was going to be the case, falling out of these thunderstorms. Hail coming into Farmington right now. Here's going to be Ruppel, just the west side of Fayetteville, right off of Weddington and Ruppel. Hail's probably starting right there. It's going to continue to pick up in size and intensity. Razorback Stadium right here, downtown Fayetteville. Here's Dixon. Terrible evening to be out on Dixon. Hope you find yourselves in one of those restaurants real quick. The rain's probably picking up soon. Hail is going to follow. Now here's Greenland. If you're in Greenland, that storm's certainly going to be moving into your neck of the woods, although it's going to be a little bit less intense. The hail likely stays up to your north there with that system. Okay, what do you say we take a look back into Benton County? I want to make sure we're just not missing anything there. We're going to track the storms where everyone lives this evening. We might focus on an area where the worst of the weather is happening. That doesn't mean I've forgotten about you. I've got 4 computer screens to my left. I've got about 16 different monitors to my right, keeping a track on everything. We will keep you posted with exactly what you need to know. Benton County, things are quieter. We've got some rain, heavy at times in Rogers, nothing severe. Bentonville, Bella Vista, Decatur, good night to you folks. And we can give you the all clear. The worst of the storms has passed through the area. In fact, wouldn't be surprised if you don't start to see some sunshine. In fact, I'm looking at the Bentonville Square. Clouds are starting to break. There, I'm looking at the Holiday Inn camera in Springdale. I can see the dark clouds to the left, the sunshine to the right. Tells us things are going to be improving for a lot of us here real shortly. The worst storm at the moment, moving into parts of Fayetteville. It's a hail producer. Right now, we've not seen any actual rotation over the last several minutes with this specific storm. It will be capable of it. Tornadoes are possible. A tornado watch is in effect for all of the area, all of eastern Oklahoma, all of northwest Arkansas, all of the River Valley, and even a good chunk of central Arkansas. That's running until 10 o'clock tonight. The left side of your screen here, that's going to be live from downtown Fayetteville. Boy, those winds have picked up. Look at those tree limbs just a whipping out there. Rain's really coming down. Boy, the hail, it's going to be tough to pinpoint it on this camera, just how quickly it might be falling. But I suspect if we've not already seen at least some small hail here in downtown Fayetteville, we're going to see it here real soon. I like this picture. If we could just keep
crossing
this up.
I-49 right now.
Yeah. So 49 is going to be just right over here. You can't see it now, but where my finger is exactly where the football stadium is. The bell tower right here, boy, you can't see it. We're about to lose visibility.
Yeah, looking at some of the RDOT between Weddington, Technology Way exit, and the Weddington Drive and MLK, visibility incredibly low, very dark on the Technology Way, mile marker 63.1.
Got it. Okay. So that's going to be I-49. That's only a couple of miles away from where we're looking at right here. This is going to be downtown Fayetteville. In fact, I think, is this the coffee shop? Is this our Sagas right here, just for some context? I love their coffee. I always try to get it when I go to the farmer's market on Saturdays. So that's just some context as to where we're looking at out there right now. Hail probably starting right now. In fact, I'm seeing occasionally a few flashes of, yep, I'm seeing it bounce. Every so often you can see it bounce as that hail comes down. Let's go back to Max 1. If we can keep that shot in the left in the box over there, just in case something changes, I'd like to get an update on exactly how large radar thinks that hail is. I'm seeing it offhand. It showed a weakening sign, but Zach, it's pulsing up again.
I feel like it is, and again, it's coming into the west side of Fayetteville right now, all the way back across I-49, and still lagging, still back to the left of I-49 as well, or to the west, excuse me. We did have a report of 1-inch hail 2 miles south of Wheeler, and that was at 7:23. So again, it's right around that 1-inch hail size for sure. And again,
okay. So folks that might be tuning in on television or now on streaming because we've lost signal on air. We are having technical difficulties on CBS, on Channel 5. I'm now told we're back. Likely some weather involved. Here's our commitment to you. Zach and myself, and just for some context, Zach's been here since about 2 a.m. this morning, doing double duty today, and I'm really thankful for that. Zach and myself are going to be here all night long. We have crews that are going to be all across 5 country, tracking these storms where you live. Should any damage occur, we'll bring you the latest on that as well. We're going to stay on digital platforms. If tornado warnings issued, that's going to be our cue to fire up the transmitter and go on Channel 5. I don't want to interrupt your programming. It's the last thing I want to do. So we're going to stay here on digital as long as we can. Hail core starting to come back up. Zach has pinpointed that this product is a little bit delayed. So we probably have increasing size hail in Fayetteville. Soon that's going to be passing near Goshen. East Fayetteville, a lot of the development east of Fayetteville. If you live there, gosh, hope you're not one of those new houses, new roofs, about to have some hail move through your area. Likely anywhere between 1 and 2-inch hail. In fact, I'm getting some reports. Ben Wade, thank you for that hail off of Weddington. That was pea-size that came in just moments ago, just off of Weddington. From
there
Ben
we go.
Wade.
That's a new update right there. I was, and maybe even still a little bit delayed there because I'm seeing the hail core right on Highway 71. From downtown Fayetteville and areas south is where it looks like the largest hailstones would be.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I'm going to pause. I want to listen.
I can hear it.
I think we might even have a little bit of hail here in Johnson. I'm not sure. I think I've heard something. It's loud for sure above me. Okay, let's take a tighter look. Let's zoom in, Zach, if you want to. Let's go to downtown Fayetteville. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to swap out the camera on the left side with our camera right here above our station. Yeah, looks like it. I think you can see that right there. Boy, and you know, the other thing to keep in mind is whether that's rain or hail, and I think it might be a mix of both. That wind is whipping it. That wind is whipping that hail, and boy, that can cause some damage to siding. You talk about 60-mile-per-hour winds pushing the hail. Boy, it looks green out there. Zach just stepped outside on our back weather deck. Going to get some real-time reports from Zach. This is from our station. This camera sits right above me. This is looking towards the south, towards downtown Fayetteville. If you're familiar with the inn at the Johnson Mill, that's going to be right to the right side of your screen. So you're looking at the Johnson area right there. Razorback Stadium, just to the north of the stadium, we've got the strongest of hail. It's going to be Joyce, I believe, perhaps. No, Joyce is going to be further north. My bearings are off. Here's going to be 71. Downtown Fayetteville. Here's Razorback Stadium, just to the north. That's where we probably have the largest of hailstones. Zach, what did you see out there?
Yeah, and that hail core did just reshift back to the north as quick as I was saying. It's downtown south.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw pea-size hail, and it was a good amount mixing in with the rainfall. But that shows you where we are in Johnson. That light gray shading, which would likely be on top of us right now.
It's probably that, yeah, right over Reed Valley Road.
So the further south you go from Johnson right now into Fayetteville,
it's coming back up.
Those hailstones are going to be getting bigger. Yeah.
Those darker blue pixels is coming back up. This storm ain't done yet. Here's Maple. We've probably already had that hail core cross 71. If not, it's right on top of 71. Let's push this out. Zach, let's take a broader perspective. Let's put a track on it. These storms.
I think they're going about 45. I'm going to double check real quick the speed.
Actually, the Weather Service says 35 on that one.
Okay.
They just put a new SPS out on that one. Let's track it out for the folks in Goshen. I'd love to give those folks a heads up as to when that storm's going to arrive. Elkins, you're not technically in the severe thunderstorm warning. You're really just right below it, but I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have some heavy rain here there real shortly as well. Just for some context, looks like there might be something trying to develop here just to the south of 412, just to the north of Goshen, probably. So you got a couple of different pockets of updraft producing some hail. Babe Ruth Ballpark, 732, Wyman, 736, Haberton, 739, Round Mountain School, 740, Goshen, 742. Time now, 7:33. So as we're broadcasting here on our digital platforms, current time, 7:33. I think that takes it into Goshen in about 9 minutes from now. Assuming that the storm doesn't speed up. It does have a history of doing that. We've been really focused on the hail. We are under tornado watch. In fact, we're under tornado watch for the next 2.5 hours. Let's take a look at rotation. I just want to make sure there's nothing going on there that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything.
Nothing that stands out to me as an obvious concern.
Certainly nothing organized.
Nothing organized. Certainly some wind. Definitely some wind pushing that hail. Kind of saw that on our tower cam from above us. So just keep that in mind. Strong thunderstorm also going to impact Madison and Carroll counties. 40-mile-per-hour wind and penny-size hail just to the north of Huntsville. Good evening to you folks there in Huntsville. You've probably been tuned in waiting for when it's going to arrive in your neck of the woods. You got one cell on the northern edge of this line, penny-size hail, the worst of which moving through Fayetteville right now. Fayetteville, now Goshen. That storm's going to be moving into Madison County over the next little bit. Benton County, things are going to be pretty quiet. Here's Delaware County starting to get a bit more quiet out there. In fact, you can give Delaware County the all clear. Adair County, Stillwell, got a strong thunderstorm moving through. A lot of lightning, thunder, heavy rain, probably some small hail with that storm moving through Stillwell. Let's take that area-wide perspective. Do have one more severe thunderstorm warning. I think it does include Sallisaw. Zach, I'm noticing a couple of things. Both of these cells present a very organized manner. You got hook echoes on both. One's already got a severe thunderstorm warning. This one may concern me even more, just given there is nothing out below or ahead of it. Lightning upticking in that specific cell. That brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, I just had a feeling that was about to happen. Let's take a tighter look at that. They're putting that warning out there for northern Laflore, parts of southern Sequoia counties as well. Here's your hook echo. Here's going to be Stigler. Stigler, you got some hail right now. Area, if there was rotation, it'd probably be right here. We better take a look while we're here in both of these cells. Velocity shows some broad rotation just to the southwest of Stigler. It's broad, it is weak, not concerning at the moment. You might still be able to say the same about this storm now moving south of Vienne, but it's even weaker. This one may be the one to watch.
Yeah. Still waiting on, there comes the information just now, and make sure there's no tornado tags or anything added. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail, but obviously we can see the rotation, we see the structure, and we know the environment it's heading into. So the storm that we definitely want to watch, and like you said, if it continues to stay in an environment all by itself, not competing with other thunderstorms. And when we talk about that, we're talking about warm, moist air. Almost think of it as a vacuum. And when a thunderstorm gets in the way, it starts to ingest rain-cooled air. But when there's nothing to the south or southeast of it, it's just like a vacuum sucking in that warm, humid, unstable air. And that's what these storms thrive on. And that's how they can continue to track for miles and miles, counties and counties.
Marshall's Museum, when we can go there, the ICAM in Fort Smith at the Marshall's Museum, looking off towards the west. It's going to be right here on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line, right along the Arkansas River. Beautiful, beautiful facility. That's what it's looking like. You kind of start to see some of that structure with that storm as the sun begins to set. Certainly one to watch. That's probably that exact same storm. And we also have, ooh, how about that? ACHE camera, Fort Smith, looking off towards the west again. This one is a little bit higher up. It's giving us a bit better of a perspective right into. I'm going to step off. I want everyone to see the full context of that storm. That's a tower right there. Anvil cloud approaching, well organized there at the lower levels of that storm. The sun setting almost just perfectly right behind it, which really helps to give us a really clear picture as to exactly what the storm structure is. That one's going to be one to watch, and I don't know if we can pan this one a little bit further towards the southwest. I think on the left side of our screen there, that's probably where that secondary storm is. That's the one that just has the brand new warning that might actually be the one that, if any of them at this point are capable of tornado genesis, it might be that one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be looking more at the downdraft right now, so all the rain, the hail coming through it. If we could see through that cloud right there on the southwest side of it, on the back side of it, that's where that area of rotation would be, and that's what we would really want to see.
I'm actually looking at some off-air products. Perhaps we might actually be starting to see a bit more organized rotation here south of Stigler. It's coming together. McCurtain's right here, Keota, and of course you've got Muldrow, not technically in a warning yet. Spiro is, Panama, Oklahoma is in that warning. That's coming together right there. We'll have to pay close attention to that. Zach, we have brand new warnings for Washington County. Let's go back to reflectivity, rain mode. I got my eye on this storm. We'll come back to that. In fact, the impressive structure there with both of those specific cells is concerning. We may be on the brink of something. This brand new severe thunderstorm warning continues for the potential of hail and damaging winds. Now moving into Goshen. It's soon going to move into Huntsville, the northern, let's say the northern, almost northern half of Madison County. You are under this brand new severe thunderstorm warning pulsing there on your screen. That one's specifically going to run until I can get it for you, Zach.
8:30, and it picked up speed, 50 miles per hour as well. Yeah, so surging out there. So as that storm motion picks up, we could actually, and we haven't talked a whole lot. These storms have been warned for 60-mile-per-hour gusts. We haven't really talked about it. It hasn't been a part of the story right now. It's been the hail cores. Right. But as it picks up speed, the gusts coming out of the storm certainly could. I
think you're exactly right. And we often talk about in the forecast, once these storms go linear, the threat often does shift to more of a damaging wind threat, secondary hail threat, secondary tornado threat. So in some ways, you're shifting the chairs on the deck take one hazard as a trade-off for a different one. There could be something right there, Zach. Do you see that? Something maybe loosely organized right there.
Yeah.
What's it look like on reflectivity? I just want to compare. So fingers pinpointed there. Not really
on the backside.
Yeah.
It may just be gusting out.
I think you might be right. I don't think that checks out with where you would expect rotation to be in that specific storm. Huntsville, though, heads up, hailstorm coming your way. This storm has a very effective history of producing large hailstones. Look at this, moving just to the north of Lincoln, ping pong ball size hail coming out of that storm. Had several reports looking at off screen over here of quarter-size hail. That's 1 inch in diameter, moving through parts of Fayetteville. This storm certainly probably continues to dump some hail. In addition to the heavy rain, lots of lightning, lots of thunder, moving into Huntsville. I got a couple more towns that are going to pop up on the map here as we take a tighter look. Hinesville right here, Mayfield, Goshen. You probably got the hail. It's probably already started, if I had to guess, there in Goshen. That storm did pulse up, Zach. As soon as you stepped out on the back porch, I think we did see that storm pulse up, producing some larger hail right there along 71, East Skillern Road, another area that probably saw that.
Yeah, this could be one of those moments where it dropped a lot of hail over the Fayetteville area, and now that updraft is starting to reload a little bit more. So, again, you look at it in Mayfield and you say, in Hinesville, you say, okay, not too bad. We're not seeing those colors that we saw in Fayetteville. Well, just like in Fayetteville, pulsed up again. So I would have every reason to believe this storm, as it exits Washington County and goes into the northern half of Madison County, we're going to see some of those blues come back in.
I think you're probably exactly right. That's just the normal life cycle of these storms. They pulse up, they pulse down. The question is, at what point do they cross into your neck of the woods? So our commitment to you, we're going to stay on here on our digital platforms as long as we need to until the threat passes. It's our job, certainly something we take a privilege in.
I can track that out for you.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. 45 miles an hour, you said?
This is up to 50 now.
Up to 50, that's right. So we got the hail. It's going on in Goshen. There's no question about that. The question is, what is that hail size when it makes it into Hinesville? Here's 412 between Springdale, Hinesville. You get to Hartwell, and then, of course, you eventually get over into Huntsville. Goshen, 741. Time, well, that was a minute ago. It's there now. Right, Hinesville, 750 when you got about 10 minutes. Huntsville, 759, maybe even a minute or two more. Marble, 809. That's when you can expect those storms to move through your neck of the woods. Folks up top, I want to share our phone number. 479-785-5000. I'm struggling to remember it. I needed a little bit of help. 479-785-5000. If you want to text us in any reports, photos of the hail, only if you can do so safely, right? 479-785-5000. That's our number here at Channel 5. And look, we go get those text images, your reports straight to our phone. So we really appreciate that. It actually does us a great deal of favor to be able to share those reports with the Weather Service. Also helps us track the storms. There it is, 479-785-5000. Maybe that's the time I finally memorize our number here at the station. Thank you for putting that up. We'll take a look back here at Live Radar. That warning now in effect for this storm that's getting ready to move out of eastern Washington County. Rain and maybe even some small hail is going to continue in Fayetteville. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Lightning and thunder is going to continue. Lightning and thunder in Lincoln. Lightning and thunder in Stillwell. West Fork, you've not seen a whole lot yet. Things are about to get much more busy for you folks in West Fork as well as in Winslow. That storm, not severe, but certainly capable of producing 40 to 50 mile per hour winds just below the threshold. Could also produce nickel-sized hail there, West Fork, Lincoln, Stillwell, Winslow as well. Zach, were you going to say something?
No, I was just looking at some of the other data here, trying to see how this is all probably going to continue to evolve. Again, very unstable atmosphere. This is the kind of time that we start to look, though, sun setting, and you start to get into this 7, 8, 9 o'clock time frame. This is sometimes where we can see that extra little boost to try to get these storms to spin a little bit more and possibly try to tighten up at times in the low levels with the rotation, and or just see these updrafts strengthen just a little bit more and kind of pulse up and down and give us more of those hail cores.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to continue to happen. Question is now, what time do we see these roll into the River Valley? Who's not seen a whole lot yet? It's been a minute since we put a track on that. What do you say if we took a broader perspective, Zach, and tracked that out? Of course, this is all an estimate, right? But it might give you an idea of, do you have time to take the trash can down to the curb? Should you wait? Should you maybe put that out early in the morning, just on account for the winds? Got a couple of cells here that remain concerning, both severe thunderstorm warned.
They've kind of gone through some changes here a little bit. Certainly the northern one seems like the southern one's starting to impact it a little bit. The structure on the southern one, the Haskell coming into Laflore one, that one's changed a little bit, but that's expected with these storms.
It really is, and I suspect what's happening here, as we've seen already this afternoon into this evening, these southern storms are the ones you often have to watch, because what happens is they get in the way of the southerly flow. They get in the way of the inflow of the northerly storms. And it really just cuts off the supplied energy, the supplied moisture that these storms need. So you often watch the southernmost storms, the tail end Charlies, as they're sometimes called. Those are the ones that often can be the ones to watch. We track that out just in case it maintains its current course, doesn't die off. That puts it in the Brent area around 749, Roland 813, downtown Fort Smith 827, Greenwood 846, Charleston 902, eventually in the Booneville 924. What's the storm threat at that point? My suspicion is it'll eventually get congealed or sucked into the line, just like all these others. If that doesn't happen, that's going to increase our severity level, right? That's going to increase our concern. But the immediate threat with that one certainly is going to be damaging winds and hail. It's had some signs of rotation, getting ready there to move out of Haskell into northern Laflore. Let's take a look at velocity, see if there have been any changes over the last few minutes on this specific storm. So we're taking a tighter look. This is your hook echo between Stigler and Keota, just to the northwest, almost due north of McCurtain. We pause that there. We take a look at velocity, and what we're going to expect to see would be some tight reds, tight greens, and I'm actually not seeing that. Perhaps there might be some, well, actually, yeah, there's something there. Maybe a different area of concern. It's not very well pronounced. Obviously, it's well below the thresholds you would need to trigger a tornado warning, but perhaps some organization nonetheless trying to happen in that general vicinity right there.
Yeah, it's definitely got some gusty winds.
Yeah.
The structure has just completely changed there from Stigler to Keota. And there's nothing to the south of it. So if this storm, as it continues east, I mean, as long as it doesn't have anything to the south of it.
And that's the concern I have with that one. If we're lucky, we'll continue to see some southerly development that eventually undercuts it. We need that to happen pretty soon. But I'm not seeing that.
No,
not seeing it right now.
We did have these are delayed, but just kind of coming in to give us an idea as we look at those hail cores at times and we look at those colors that we're seeing and we wonder, okay, we're looking for that ground truth of are we seeing quarter size hail or not? We did have another report of quarter size hail that was 4 miles northeast of Fayetteville. Okay. And then recently we've had a just under quarter size hail report for Goshen, and we had some small hail reported north of Fayetteville a little while back as well. But just showing you some of those grayer colors that we're seeing at times, less than severe as expected, but those hail cores have come down.
That's good. That's great. Is there any hail in these two systems? I'm curious. In fact, if we were to look at the hail, yeah, it's there. McCurtain, Keota, you're about to get some hail. If not already, they're probably just to the north of McCurtain. What do you say? Our darker blue, that's when we're talking 1 to 2 inches. That's severe. Probably closer to 1 inch if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm looking at some other data over here to the side suggesting around 1 inch.
Yeah, no question
and
about
that's about the shading that we saw go right over Fayetteville. So that would match up with the ground truth that we're getting and what the radar is estimating.
You know, in some ways, I considered these reports relatively good news. The atmosphere was locked and loaded, right? There was so much storm fuel in the air, it wasn't going to take much. And the fact that we've only seen ping pong size hail in that storm further off towards West Washington County, it could have been much larger. I don't think the threat's totally passed, but perhaps these storms are reaching a ceiling that's a little bit lower. That would certainly be some good news for us. Continuing to keep a look at these two storms, both severe thunderstorm warned. This one is really trying to undercut this one. And I think we see that structure struggling to maintain itself. There may be storm interaction. Sometimes when you get storm mergers, that could be enough to start some rotation. So we watch probably for the next 5 to 10 minutes really closely to see, do these storms merge, and is that enough? Is that enough to really push us to the limits? Brent here, Salisaw here, Callington, Panama. Of course, this is all south of Muldrow. south of 40. That I think eventually could cross 40, maybe closer in Arkansas when it does.
Yeah, and again, with the when we look at 4,000 plus joules, Cape, that's the measure of energy that we look at. We've seen stronger storms, and this is what's such a head scratcher, is we're still trying to figure out in the meteorological community why some storms in some environments produce or perform better, you could say. They're stronger, more severe. Other times with less energy available. We don't always understand why some tornadoes form on storms that the structure just is awful looking, and then the most textbook supercell doesn't produce gigantic hail or doesn't produce a tornado. It just doesn't always make sense. You never know how they're going to perform. All we can do is just look at the environment that'll be available and say this is the limits that it possibly could get to.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Science has come a really long way. Technology has come a really long way, but there's still a secret about the technical term is tornadogenesis. There's still a secret that we just quite haven't unlocked just yet. Of course, we hope we're closer. We hope we get there and we're able to give folks a lot of lead time, so we never have another fatality or injury. But until then, we track these storms very closely. We don't trust them. Meteorologists have trust issues with storms that look just like that because we know that things can change quickly. We know that rotation can pick up real quickly. It's got an organization to it. It's got a structure to it. Both of these storms do. I'm really more concerned with this one.
A little bit more of a hook trying to come around there in the last scan.
And actually, that actually does match up, Zach, with I was kind of confused as to why the rotation was a bit more displaced. Perhaps it was never displaced at all. Perhaps that's where it's actually trying to develop. Let's look at velocity there. Just to the northwest, almost due west of McCurtain. Boy, there's nothing strong. I'm not seeing, but maybe that's where that's trying to come together. That would make sense as when we loop that. It's probably when we looked at it last, right in this general area.
Yeah, the better rotation when the storm was first warned was just to the north of that. So maybe if that area is cycling there and trying to develop a new meso, then it could be maybe a little bit more to the southeast there.
Yeah, no question about it. Okay, let's do a little tour around on some cameras while we wait for the radar to finish up its latest scan. That's going to be Jack Links looking from Bentonville, sun setting behind some cumulonimbus clouds. Crepuscular rays is what those are called when those sun rays pierce out like that. It's a pretty beautiful shot. Really nice vantage point there looking west from Bentonville. Next up, we're going to be looking at, let's say, the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce. Boy, this camera, just a few moments ago when that gnarly hail core moved through, visibility was really reduced. You can see campus again, and you can start to see some sunshine on the backside of that system. You know, some folks I was talking to earlier yesterday, they said, Scott, your chance of storms is only 60%, but you're really confident we're going to see severe weather. Why? Well, this is the reason why. Most of the day was quiet, right? Those storms weren't going to take up the entire day, so we kept that chance relatively low. We got sunshine going to break out on the backside of this system. I know where this one is really where we're looking off towards the east from Ozark, the 23 South Bridge right here. This camera sits at Arkansas Valley Electric. I can't tell you how many fish I pulled out of the river right over in that same area. Boy, looking towards the Lock and Dam right here. Webb City, of course, further towards the south there. Clear skies off towards the east. Folks in Ozark, I know things are really quiet out there in the River Valley at the moment. Storms are going to roll through here soon. Looking off towards the west from the Marshals Museum. Also along the Arkansas River, beautiful banks of the Arkansas River. In fact, we're near flood stage between Fort Smith and Van Buren. We crested this afternoon. So by tomorrow, if you live along the river, I've talked to a few folks that do, and they've been a little bit concerned. In fact, you know, it's just about 5 years ago. Gosh, right now, is it? Okay, what's the date? It's May 8th. May 8th, yeah. So we're only about 2 weeks away from the 5-year anniversary of all that river flooding, right? So a lot of folks probably still have a little bit of anxiety. I totally get it. You saw that river rising and you're wondering, oh boy, it's May. Are we about to do it again? Right now, no indications of that. In fact, you're going to see the waters recede probably over the next few days slowly, but we've reached crest there. So this is going to be in Fort Smith. I believe this is from Mercy Hospital. Looking back off towards the west-southwest, you can see the sunshine illuminating those clouds there. Big billowing towers. Those are those two cells that we're looking at coming out of Oklahoma that do have me a bit concerned. A bit uneasy. Those warning polygons getting closer to the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line. Very well structured there with those two specific storms that we're looking at from our radar and from our cameras, but no concerning signs of rotation at the moment. could change, right? That's why we're going to stay with it here on our digital platforms. It's almost 7:55. Scott Covert here, working alongside meteorologist Zach Scott, doing double duty. Got folks ready for the storms early this morning. Got the kids off to the bus stop as well, doing double duty tonight. And of course, we appreciate him for that. Looking at one of our RDOT cameras, this is Stephen Carr Drive, just to the north of Weddington Boulevard, I believe, Stephen Carr Boulevard. I'll correct myself there. Just to the north of Weddington. You got the sunshine off towards the west. You look back off towards the east, still got those heavy raindrops coming down out of those dark clouds. Traffic's resuming there on I-49. I suspect it was pretty slow as that hailstorm moved through earlier. Got a few warnings in place. This specific warning does include eastern Washington County, a good majority of Madison County. Let's in fact take another look at the hail in this specific storm moving through parts of Madison. It's going to include Huntsville, right? In fact, the worst of which is probably in Huntsville right now. Hail's come down. You see, you can see the track of that storm. So what you're looking at here is not all real time. Right, we're able to actually look at the track as that storm progressed from west to the east. So that's what you're seeing there. And you can see the latest scan indicates that hail core probably right now moving into Huntsville. It's come down. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we're not seeing quarter-size hail. That's 1 inch in diameter, which is just enough. That's the threshold in which you start to see severe weather warnings issued. In addition to that, you probably also got 60-mile-per-hour winds coming out of that cell as well. So here's Hinesville right here. Probably had some big hail in Hinesville. Would love to hear your reports. 479-785-5000. If you got a report to text us. Hartwell, right there along 412. You got that storm coming through. It's probably gnarly right there. If I had to guess, right there in Madison County right now.
Yeah, well, the last time we were looking at this, the image was just to Goshen, and we talked about wouldn't be shocked if by the time it got into Madison County, we saw some of those blues come back up. So again, this storm has just been cycling its way all the way across Washington County, and now will likely continue to do so into Madison County. I would have, if you live in Madison County near or north of Highway 412, I would expect anywhere from P to quarter-size hail to be passing through your area. Yeah,
no question about it. P for sure, quarter, if I had to guess. So it looks like that latest scan, perhaps we're seeing that pulse up. That may come closer to impacting Huntsville. Huntsville, gosh, we thought we had some good news for you. We thought we were trending in a good direction, but as Zach pointed out, that may be pulsing back up. Starting to see some blues, some lighter blues moving back into that storm, which is really, given the radar is delayed, we probably are looking at hail falling right now in Huntsville. If not, it's only a matter of seconds before that begins to happen.
Yeah, and again, it is very frustrating that it can be delayed like that at times, but that's just how it is. Again, these storms moving pretty quick. They're back and forth times from 35 to 45. At times, we've seen it pick up speed at 50 miles per hour. So that's just always a reminder that these storms, that very rarely do they stay constant in any form, whether it's the speed or it's the strength of the storms. And 30, 45 minutes, we can give you as big of a heads up at times as possible, but that's moving quick. You realistically have 15 minutes at most sometimes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you live downstream from one of these warnings, it's probably just a good idea. Let's move that car into the garage if you can. Taking a wider perspective here into northwest Arkansas, that line oriented from the northeast, places like Berryville, seeing the showers and storms back off towards the southwest. The leading edge of that now moving into Crawford County. In fact, let's spend some time in Crawford County. Let's go there and get an idea of what's about to move in. Really, probably not a whole lot. Of course, Zach and I spent a couple of hours with the folks in Crawford County with those tornado warnings a couple of mornings ago. So you probably got some storm anxiety. You're not too happy with this line moving through, and we certainly understand that. Good news for us at the moment is, there's some really heavy rain, northern Crawford County, getting close to 49 there north of Mountainburg. But there's a bit of a broken structure. There's not a whole lot filling in. So Uniontown, which I know had some damage a couple of days ago, you probably are going to get a little bit of rain, but perhaps it's not the strongest of activity going to be moving through the area. I can't help but point it out. What's happening here is exactly what we said was going to happen. These cells are merging. The organization of that southernmost cell is continuing to be concerning. You see that classic hook echo now moving into McCurtain. That'll bring a very strong supercell into Spiro. Not seeing a lot in the way of rotation right now.
No, but it's still trying to get organized.
It's trying to get organized, and I'm looking at some offhand information off screen over here. that suggests the area where the most storm fuel is overlapping with the most wind shear, which is one of the ingredients that's been somewhat lacking, perhaps might be there in eastern Oklahoma and west central Arkansas. So number one, don't like the structure moving through McCurtain, this specific cell here. About to get ready to move into northern Laflore County. Not Poteau. Poteau won't be impacted by this storm. It's moving towards the east-northeast. But perhaps there's some more ingredients at play that may be enhancing that. Now taking another look back out of Fort Smith, looking off towards the west as the sun sets behind that specific storm. Those cloud towers are billowing. If my orientation's correct, if my bearings are correct, this is going to be our Sallisaw storm. So this one on the left side of the screen would be the McCurtain storm. If we're able to pan back up towards the southwest, I'd love that if we can. I understand. I really don't see a lot. That's not to say there's not a lot happening there. I believe there probably is. We probably just don't have the right sun angles to give us a good view of it.
Yeah, and I'm looking at
Can we look at velocity?
Velocity, yeah, that's what I was just looking at as well. It's trying down there by McCurtain.
Yeah, sure is. Boy, oh boy, it sure is. Let's zoom in tight. I think we might be able to. That label might actually be getting in our way. Okay, backing up. Yep, there's some rotation. There's some weak rotation coming together here in McCurtain. It's weak. I don't think we're going to see a tornado in the next few minutes. But things can rapidly change. There's some rotation there. It's trying.
It is.
It's not doing a good job.
No.
But it's not for lack of effort. That area of rotation soon moves into northern Laflore County. Bekoshi, if you know someone living there, I'd be ready to move quickly. It's got a nice tail on it. Here it is.
Absolutely.
I called it a stinger earlier, and I don't know where that came from, but perhaps it's fitting.
I think it works.
It just reminds me of a scorpion stinger, and it's having that look right there moving through McCurtain. Well organized updraft. Easy to tell, just given the fact that you got so much dark reds here. You probably got some pretty steady inflow moving right into that storm. There's no storms to the south of it to obscure it. We know there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. We know that that's a place where the highest wind shear is. So, yeah, could be happening. Could be something going on right there. We're going to have to pay close attention to that. This specific warning includes Spiro, Panama, does not include Muldrow. Well, this one does. This one now includes Muldrow. This one's going to fizzle out. They're dancing with each other right now, but we know that the winner of this dance will be the southernmost storm.
The structure, if we could flip these two the way they are, and you've got more of that screaming eagle look there a little bit on the northern supercell. If that supercell was on the southern end right now, I might be a little bit more concerned with it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We'll have to see how this cell merger evolves over the next 5 to 10 minutes. Zach used a phrase that a lot of chasers will often use, a screaming eagle. It's the shape that's being pointed out here. You can kind of see the bird's head. You got the wings back here. It's a chaser term that's often used in the weather world. There you go. That's definitely a classic sign there.
There is still a storm. We are watching for our folks in southwestern areas of Laflore County. There is a cluster of storms off towards the south, kind of tracking east, northeast. We'll have to watch and see. The cold front, as it continues to push, may take these storms more eastward. So down the line, the southern half of Laflore. Maybe this cluster stays to the south of Poteau, but I wouldn't be shocked if maybe it doesn't try to fill in the gap there a little bit between the supercell to the north and the cluster to the south. That's
certainly been the trend this afternoon into this evening. I think that would be good if we could close the gap between these two storms, becoming more of a linear issue. That often leads itself to more of a straight line wind threat. You can get embedded tornadoes. In fact, I'll tell you, most tornadoes in Arkansas are spawned from squall lines, these embedded areas of rotation. Generally, they're weaker. But that threat is generally a little bit lessened than these individual supercells, like what we're seeing on the southwest flank of this line. These are going to move into the river valley. Especially Sebastian County, Laflore, Sebastian County. That's where these storms are going right now. And we'll have to see how far they can maintain themselves before that cold front catches up to them. on the backside of that system.
Couple updates. They have been trimming off, and if you want to, if you guys can, we can wait. You pull up Max 2. I do have the current tornado watches, warnings, all that up. Northeast Oklahoma, when we started, was in the tornado watch, and parts of southwest Missouri were in the tornado watch. Those areas have been canceled. So if we were going to see areas of 5 country be canceled anytime soon, it would be Benton County would be up next.
Makes sense.
Delaware County, you can see it there,
Yep,
has been removed. So that'll kind of be that trend from northwest to southeast as the cold front passes through.
Yeah, they call that watch and warning maintenance. They're going to give folks the all clear, dropping counties a couple, 2 or 3 at a time as the threat ends. In communication off to the side here with the Weather Service out of Little Rock, who is responsible for parts of 5 country. They are currently coordinating with the Tulsa National Weather Service as well as the Storm Prediction Center in Norman for a new watch that will probably include the rest of Arkansas. Most of the rest of Arkansas, it's not currently under a watch. This line, it's not going to slow down, right? It's going to continue to cause problems for the rest of the state after it gets done with us. So expect some information on that to come out here soon. Zach, there's something else I'm noticing. We're looping this over the last 15 minutes. You start that loop, we have a decent amount of lightning, and we get to real time. There's a lot of lightning.
Yeah, really ticked up there.
That storm's organizing. That merger's happening, and that merger may be just what this storm needs to get going. In fact, let's just take another look at the winds there. I don't want to rest easy on this specific cell. If we could look at velocity, what we're going to be able to see is that rotation coming back together as it moves more and more closer, or really almost into Laflore County. Here's would be your area of rotation, right near McCurtain. There was some really weak, broad rotation earlier.
It just is not. Again, and you've alluded to this. I think there is some very broad rotation there.
It ain't much.
But it is not. It is not much. I think we're seeing, if anything, we're seeing the attempts of rotation trying to get going. I don't even want to say tighten because it is so broad if it's there.
So broad indeed. Tornado watch for Benton, Cherokee, Muskogee, and Pittsburgh counties has been canceled. Zach gave you a heads up that may be coming. So Benton County, you're done for the night, done with the storms, done with the tornado threat. That'll continue for the rest of the area in the River Valley until about 10 o'clock when that watch is either extended or expired. I'd say parts eastern River Valley, maybe Logan, Johnson, that may have to be extended a little bit beyond 10 o'clock unless these storms can pick up some speed. They're moving kind of slow, these southernmost storms are. You know, what's just so interesting to me, Zach, is the storm structure here is really quite impressive. I mean, you get a hook echo like that.
You expect more. When we go to velocity, you expect more. And you go to velocity, and I don't expect the image that we see when we come back to reflectivity.
And we talk about the severe weather ingredients. There's an acronym, SLIM, stands for shear lift, instability, and moisture. Those are the 4 critical ingredients to support severe weather and the tornadic development. Shear is the one that's modest at best, and shear is a couple of different things. That's wind speeds changing with height. So perhaps at the surface where you and I live, winds are out of the southwest, let's say 5 to 10 miles per hour, but 40, 50,000 feet up in the air. They're more oriented a bit more westerly, perhaps. That's not only directional shear, but that's speed shear. Don't have a lot of that going on, and something tells me the prohibiting factor that we've seen today with some of these storms is just the lack of shear. Winds at the ground level as well as up well above us in the upper levels of the atmosphere are generally out of the west-southwest, which is pretty uniform. So we're not getting that changing of direction with height. We're not getting that. You think of it like this. You ever get a top, you know, as a kid, you got those tops you just spin, right? You kind of got to go in opposing directions with your fingers. Not getting a lot of that. So unless this storm can find some shear, Weather Service says there's an increasing amount of shear closer to the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. If it can find enough, maybe we can get some rotation, but not seeing it right now. Certainly a classic supercell, right? It definitely has that structure, but just not happening.
Yeah, and maybe running out of time if the shower activity to the south continues.
And we've seen that. We've seen that southern activity cut off those stronger cells all afternoon long.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in Laflore County, you've got the thunderstorm to the north, and then you've got this cluster down by Tallahena. And then if you're in, from Pocola to Fort Smith to Van Buren to Alma, you've got some healthy thunderstorms out towards the west, capable of some gusty winds, very heavy rainfall, lightning. And we're watching that rotation at times, but also going to be some hail. I will update you as well. The Washington County severe thunderstorm warning. Washington County no longer under a severe thunderstorm warning. They've trimmed that back into parts of Madison and then Carroll County for the potential of up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We haven't had much in the way of wind reports at all here as we've gone into the evening. It's most of our warnings have been for the potential of quarter-size hail and even larger at times. But mostly right now we're just looking at small hail up to the size of quarters possible with this cluster of storms in northern Madison County moving into southern Carroll County.
What do you say we take a look at some of those cameras again? We know we have severe storms moving through, and while we're waiting on new data to come in.
Well, we did just get a new warning too.
Okay, let's pause there. Max 1, please. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning for Podo. Podo now included in a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, as is a good chunk of northwestern Laflore County. This cell, it's been severe warned for quite a while. We've just not paid a lot of attention to it, just given how far out of our area it is. It's making some progress, though. Tallahena also included in that severe thunderstorm warning. I really do think you're right, Zach. These two storms are going to interact, and if this one can speed up, it's going to do us a big favor. I know it's unfortunately may bring hail and wind, but it could prevent this storm from doing something else that we don't want it to do, that it's trying to do, right? Tracking that out, moving off towards the northeast, that takes that right into the Podo area. Let's see, Red Oak 815, Fanshawe 825, Victor at 833, Podo 847, Pocola right around 908. It's going to get adjusted in that line, and at that point we have mostly a linear storm mode, which is when we're going to start to see things become more straight line winds. Some embedded hail cores, as well as that lower potential of an isolated spin-up tornado embedded in the main line. Okay, good information there. If we're still ready for some of those cameras, let's definitely take a look at those. Got a beautiful sunset out there on the backside of this storm system. I'm looking off out of all our cameras, occasionally seeing some lightning out there as well. This is Jack Links looking off towards the west, sunsetting there on the western sky. Beautiful shot there, some clouds lingering on the backside of that system. Blue skies above Benton County right now. Got a couple of those clouds going to move back into the area. ACHE in Fort Smith giving us a look at those severe thunderstorms. We've seen some lightning over the last few minutes in this shot I've noticed off camera. This cell here is the northernmost cell. We've also got a second one back off in this general area, sun setting right behind it, giving us a beautiful look at that storm structure. Those cloud towers are billowing. Last check, about 40 to 50,000 feet. I've not checked in a little bit. This cell, and you see that lightning there off in the western sky. This cell is going to move into the Fort Smith area. I believe we have another look from the Marshals Museum right there, also looking back off towards the west. Don't have as pretty of a shot of the sunset, just given this camera is a little bit lower to the ground. But you do look back into parts of Oklahoma, darkening of those storm clouds as they approach the River Valley area. Severe thunderstorm warned right now for large hail as well as damaging winds.
This is a new severe thunderstorm warning that does include the Fort Smith metro.
Excellent. Muldrow 812, Roland 819. Just for some context, the current time here is 8:13 here at the studios. Fort Smith 827. Barling, we expect this storm to roll in around 8:34. 10 minutes later in Greenwood at 8:44. Bloomer Community 8:48. Charleston 8:55. Traveling east on Highway 22, that takes that storm into the Branch area at around 9:01 this evening.
Warned for the capabilities of quarter-size hail and up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The strongest gusts that I'm seeing do not appear to be near 60 miles per hour, but those strongest gusts would be coming into the Muldrow area right now, down to Gans, down to Fort Coffee, and then over towards Callington. I would expect at least 30-plus mile-per-hour gusts. I'm not seeing the brightest green colors there. When we look at velocity, the inbound winds coming towards the radar there at Fort Smith, but you should be be seeing some gusty winds sweeping east across Sequoia County right now, and then northern Laflore County as well. That is tracking about 45 miles per hour towards Fort Smith, Van Buren, and Poteau. So we're going to keep our eyes on that.
Can we go back and look at that McCurtain storm? In fact, there it is right there. You already had it. Yep. Here's that hook. And if we look at velocities, it's trying to come together. I think I said it earlier. This storm has tried to produce rotation. It's still trying, and I think it might be becoming a bit better organized than
you
it
take a
was.
look at chat there.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me zoom in a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. I suspected there was something happening here. So Bekoshi here, McCurtain. Boy, it's messy. I really don't. Okay, well, at times there has been a strong signal of some rotation.
Look at chat again there.
Yep, definitely checks out. Definitely checks out with that.
I mean, again, you go back to reflectivity.
Oof.
There's every bit of a hook there.
I tell you, these are the things that give meteorologists some heartburn, some acid reflux happening. When you start to see structure like that, that's a scary looking storm. Rotation hasn't lived up to what it looks like on rain mode, but boy, it's got a gnarly hook there just to the southwest of Bekoshi. Panama, Spiro, Callington, you're not under any type of tornado warning at the moment. It's just a severe thunderstorm warning. But I'll tell you, something could be trying to organize itself right here. Looking at the rotation tracker, you take off all the mess. There is a little bit of rotation there just to the east of McCurtain. It pulses up and pulses down. It's been weak the whole time, but it's been there. That storm's been trying. It's been trying a lot. We're going to have to keep a close eye on that. I would say, if anything, it's been more organized than
Maybe
it
the
has
last
been.
couple scans.
Yeah.
Just in these last few scans. I mean, it's kind of when you put your finger on the hook there, the ball at the end, and then we put velocity on. I mean, it's starting
right
to,
there.
yeah, it's matching up.
So that hook moving out of Haskell into Laflore County. In fact, it's right on the county line there, moving into Laflore County. Right now, severe thunderstorm warned. Not seeing.
National Weather Service out of Tulsa is saying that they've got multiple meteorologists right now looking very hard at their radar to try to figure out if they want to maybe go forward with a tornado warning.
Yeah, gosh, the rotation there. It's weak and it's not organized, but
you wonder what's coming down the line. Are we seeing just the beginnings of a strengthening storm?
So looking at some reports from a ham radio operator, there are reports of a funnel cloud east of McCurtain. That's going to be right between McCurtain and Bekoshi. And that's what we've been looking at for the last couple of hours. The rotation's weak, but there was just a couple of reports from ham radio operators right where you would expect a funnel cloud to be, right here. It's going to be tracking just to the south of Bekoshi. Panama also down the line here. Spiro also included. Town of Cameron and Bacola also need to just get ready with that specific storm. I can't see that rotation producing an actual tornado.
Yeah, but maybe, yeah.
Perhaps we're on the precipice of that storm finally trying to get it together. It's been trying for the last couple of hours. It's got a look to it. It's got that gnarly hook echo. You've still got some rotation. You look at rotation tracker right to the east of McCurtain where that funnel cloud was reported. Could be happening.
Maybe a little better shear in the last scan there.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, are you tracking that back 5, 10, 15 minutes ago?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So taking a tighter look.
This is our newest scan here.
Okay. So what road? That's going to be County Road 159, County Road 55, maybe in that general vicinity right here. Rotation, boy, it's really not pronounced. It's just really not there. Personally, if it's me, I'm not going to issue a tornado warning based off the rotation alone. So
it may have just tightened up there for a brief moment, and then it may have already been starting to weaken a little bit. If you are just joining us, we're taking a live look in northwest Laflore County at a supercell here that has just been chugging along. You look at the structure. If you've watched storms and watched us cover storms before, you've seen this image right here, a supercell with a hook. This one has been one of the weaker ones we've seen, but it is a severe thunderstorm nonetheless. It is tracking across northern Laflore County. The brunt of this is well to the south of I-40. Now, there is still some heavy rain along I-40. That is part of an old thunderstorm that's slowly weakened as this one's kind of strengthened off towards the south. So you look out towards the west from Crawford and Sebastian counties, looking very dark out there, especially from Sebastian County, looking out towards Oklahoma, towards the west. Dark skies coming. It is a severe thunderstorm moving about 45 miles per hour. It is being warned for the possibilities of quarter-size hail and the potential for gusts to be up to 60 miles per hour. We have not had a lot of reports of hail with this one, but certainly seems like it would be capable of at least having a core in there of some small hail with some maybe up to quarter-size hailstones mixing in at times. We haven't seen strong winds coming out of this storm either, but we should be seeing those gusty winds continuing along I-40 from Fort Coffee up towards Muldrow. So in Fort Smith in the next 20 minutes or so, we are going to be looking at those gusty winds from the west picking up, heavy rain picking up. But we've got our eyes down towards the south. That hook, that appendage hanging down, trying to tighten up at times, possibly produce a tornado. We are under a tornado watch, meaning we've got thunderstorms out there for the next several hours through the evening, for the next couple hours at least. Our tornado watch goes to 10 o'clock, and that may have to be extended for some of our Arkansas counties there. These have really slowed down.
Especially on this southern flank here. Folks up in the booth, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a look at that ACHE camera. This is going to be in Fort Smith. I'm seeing some decent storm structure there. We're looking too far away to see anything close to the ground, but I think we might be able to actually see the mesocyclone of that system. So here's going to be, and I still can't totally tell if this is our southernmost storm or if this is going to be our northernmost storm. There was a bit of a cell merger earlier. Frequent lightning strikes there. We're painting the sky. I'm assuming this is back off towards the south, right? That's south-southwest. Okay, so maybe if we pan back up where we were, thank you for that context, helps me get my bearings here. This probably is our supercell that we're looking at. This is probably looking into the heart of that hook. You might notice some mid-level rotation there. I think we can take a look at that. I'll take a look at that offhand, Zach.
I mean, I would think so with the structure, right?
Actually, yeah, look up to 1.8, and I do see some mid-level rotation. You can almost see, it's tough as we're losing the sun, but you can almost see plates. We're stacking plates there, and that striation, that corkscrew effect, sometimes you call it stacking pancakes out there, serving up breakfast. I think maybe that's might be what we're doing with that system in the mid-levels. Now, a storm having mid-level rotation is not all that concerning. That happens more than you probably even care to know. The question is, are we able to translate that mid-level rotation down to the surface? That's where the actual tornado genesis is going to happen. But yeah, looking at just some off-screen products, what I've done off-screen is I've tilted the radar up, and I said, hey, I'll come back to the surface level, but I want to see what's happening up in the mid-levels, and there's a little bit of rotation there for sure.
Yeah, and again, this storm's moving to the east 35, 40 miles per hour. The one to the southwest is moving faster, and I wonder if that's going to maybe catch up to it, though it looks like it's struggling a little bit here.
You know, that cell interaction, you kind of see it on this loop here. We actually had two supercells. If you're with us, you recall, if you've just joined us on our streams here in the last few minutes, we had two supercells, and they really merged. The southern cell often wins out. It's going to be the one that you have to pay attention to. And then another question becomes, does this southernmost cell that's moving into parts of western Laflore County that is severe, does it do the same thing? Does it swallow up this guy? And how does that impact its severity, its organization, its strength as it eventually moves near Poto over the next half hour or so?
I'm going to put the hail cores on here and kind of take a look.
Boy, there's some hail coming out of that storm just to the west of Panama. Definitely some strong hail In addition, just the fact that it's got a pretty strong hook echo as well with that specific storm moving into Panama. If you're there, you got a big hailer coming your way. It may bring some hail into the Pensacola area here real soon. Hopefully we can get that thing to fizzle out as quick as possible.
Yeah, and really showing you that the what is barely left of the thunderstorm to the north there, right along I-40 and to the south there in southern Sequoyah County, that storm is completely weakened, looking like we should just have rain north of the Arkansas River there into Sequoyah County. As you start to get south of that Arkansas River, a little bit deeper down into Laflore County, that's where you're going to run into heavier rain, more lightning, and then also that hail core ticking up.
Yeah, for sure. Zach, I want to do something. This is going to be throwing you for a loop. Boy, I'm almost afraid to ask you. Can you switch us to correlation coefficient? Let's just back this thing up and see if we didn't have something quick spin up with that specific storm. Folks online, I know this is messy. This is some of the newest and latest radar technology. It's called dual polarization radar, and gives us a lot of different products to look at, none of which are appealing to the eye. But what we're looking at here is we're saying, radar, I know you see rain, and I know you see hail, things that should be up there in the sky. Is there anything that shouldn't be? And how it determines that is by shape and size. Of course, leaves, twigs, branches, shingles, 2x4s, siding, all those things look different than raindrops and hail. So here's McCurtain. Let's go even tighter. I may need to see this a little bit tighter. The nice thing about our digital platform is it allows us to do some nerdy things just like this. I hope you folks don't mind. You'll stick with us. So what we would want to see is a couple of pixels of blue that would indicate debris, and I don't totally see it embedded within that red.
This may have been, there were some reports of funnel coming with it. I wonder if maybe, well, no, because that would have had to have been on the ground. If you start to get a little yellow there right in the middle of the, well, I'll throw velocity back on. I'll have to back it up.
Yeah,
But this is when this is a couple meteorologists right here breaking down the radar real time and trying to figure out, do we have some areas of rotation?
it's possible. I'm not going to rule that out. I wouldn't rule that out. Okay, let's see exactly what we're looking at into that storm. Sun is setting. This camera here from ACHE, looking off towards the west. Frequent lightning, frequent thunder. Here's our camera. It's going to be right here. So unfortunately, with the storm structure the way it is, we're not going to be able to pierce the downpours in the hail core coming out of that storm. That's why you see it as dark as it is off towards the southwest. If there was a wall cloud, if there was a mesocyclone, it's not going to be viewable anymore from our cameras in Fort Smith because we're looking into the downdraft portion of that storm. Lots of lightning out there, lots of anvil crawlers. You can see those lightning strikes there, occasional cloud-to-ground lightning noted with that as well. Zach, I think you're right. You loop this storm's going to be ingested, and whatever potential this storm had to create a tornado may not go to zero, but it's certainly going to lessen, which is good news. We love a good storm interaction like this.
Yeah, and again, these are warned for potential of wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. The storm to the southwest of Poto, and again, yeah, it does have some wind coming in for sure. This will be the first storm we've really watched that certainly has that wind potential kicking in.
Boy, that wind is really kicking up. A couple of things. We're looking from the Fort Smith radar here. In Poto, we're still relatively decent in terms of beam height. So, of course, the Earth is round. It's news for some folks, I know. Shocking, right? So there's the further you get away from the beam, the more distance you have between the beam and the ground. So sometimes we get far away from our radar sites. We're looking higher into the sky. That's not the case here in Poto. We're probably only looking a couple thousand feet above the ground, and you got winds showing up as bright as that. That's probably your 60, maybe even as high as 70 mile per hour wind speeds. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, and what Scott's saying too, that's, luckily for us, it is heading towards the radar site. So as it gets closer, if you continue to watch with us and see those colors stay bright, then that's a good indication that we're, again, just seeing those winds lower and lower and lower, getting closer to us here at the surface. So what we'd ideally like to see is those brighter colors go away as it gets closer to that donut hole there just to the south of Fort Smith.
Whew. Definitely got some winds coming into Poto. Still not seeing strong rotation, though, coming out of that system. Here's Panama. Maybe something broad trying to organize there, but it's going to have to happen real quick. Otherwise, I think we're going to have cell interaction from that southern flank. So let's go back to rain mode. I'm looking at our Fort Smith cameras. Definitely got some rain picking up in Fort Smith. Boy, I cannot get over how organized the structure of this storm is.
Yes.
I mean, it's textbook. It's a classic supercell right there. High precipitation supercell. Just doesn't have much rotation with it. And boy, that is some good news.
That's a good 90-degree turn there.
I am giddy the fact that there is no rotation with that specific storm. That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a hook on it it's had at times. We'll look at velocity again and just not seeing anything.
Just not much, that's for sure. Perhaps it's trying. It's been trying for the last couple of hours. It just hasn't been able to do it, and I think time's running out. That cell that's producing the winds may influence it at least initially, may actually increase the likelihood that we could get some rotation, but that would be short-lived with that cell interaction. Eventually that's going to pulse down. Bacola rain's coming into town. Got that line now. It's east of Fayetteville. In fact, Fayetteville, we're done. Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville, Tahlequah, you're done for the night. Storms have passed. Boy, a cold front's going to be moving through. Cold front's what's kicking up a lot of these storms, right? And by tomorrow, you're going to notice it's going to be much less humid. And by Friday, our temperatures are likely only in the 70s. It's going to feel a lot better than it has the last several days. Just got to make it through the next couple of hours. Tornado watch remains in effect till 10 o'clock. So right now, it's currently 8:31. About an hour and 29 more minutes to go before that tornado watch is allowed to expire for our neck of the woods. Eventually, we'll see some damaging. Ooh, Mamus. Boy, that's a beautiful picture there.
Yeah, getting a lot of reports of it, and I'm getting a photo sent in myself. Absolutely beautiful there. We're
So
on the back side.
Yeah, so you might be seeing some Mamus clouds. It's yeah, I would love. We're getting a lot of your reports from around the area. We'll pull those up. Mamus clouds, beautiful. They're like pillow-like clouds that are somewhat rare. Often only happen after very turbulent weather, and so they're really beautiful to look at, especially as the sun's setting. Boy, the lightning there in Fort Smith is just near constant. Beautiful rainbow right there. That's actually outside our television station right there. Taking a look at what's next. Oh my word, how gorgeous are those? Wow, so that's Mamus clouds.
Wow.
Oh, beautiful. So I've noticed my watch. You folks are texting in pictures, and I've been looking at it every once in a while. I can't respond to you yet. You've been asking what these clouds were. Oh my goodness gracious. How about that? What a show.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, boy, I could look at those all night
and
long.
You knew when some of these first couple pictures started coming in, folks here in Five Country are really good about recognizing when something's special.
Cool clouds, right?
Yeah, cool clouds, something special, and getting out there and getting us some photos. So I think these are going to keep rolling in.
Oh, I love it. Love that. If you had pictures of the Mamus clouds, rainbows, anything else, we would love to see your reports. My number here at the station, 479-785-5000. Just do us a favor, include where the photo was taken. In your name, of course, so we can be sure to give you proper credit.
Wow.
Mamus clouds. Boy, and not only are Mamus clouds really cool, but it is so stinking special when the sun's setting, and it really just adds that really cool color to the sky as well. Often, again, only happening after some really turbulent weather, and that's what we've seen, unfortunately. It's cool to see that. It's not cool to see the large hail that's moved through. And it's not cool to see the hook echoes that we're seeing traveling through Laflore County. So pardon a couple of scientists here nerding out. And thank you for sending those photos in so we could share that moment with you. Didn't get a chance to step outside and see it ourselves. Okay, strong line of storms passing through parts of now north central Arkansas, getting ready to move into the River Valley, where it's been really quiet all evening. These storms were delayed. we really thought these storms were going to roll in late afternoon, early evening, and we saw them initiate a little bit later. The upper level energy, so we're talking the jet stream, right, way up in the sky, just didn't move in as quick as the models projected it would. That's why the timing discrepancy has occurred for us. Looking in Fort Smith on the left side of your screen, that's going to be our ACHE camera. Frequent lightning. You might occasionally see something storm structure related, but we're going to be looking into the downdraft portion of that storm. So my suspicion is you're not going to see a wall cloud. You're not going to see a funnel cloud. You're probably not going to see rotation just simply based off where the camera's looking at. That's going to be closer to Poto. Now, if we had a camera in Poto looking to the north, that might be a different story. That's going to be our two severe thunderstorm warnings, just to be clear, that remain in effect. Newest one does include parts of western Sebastian County. Fort Smith likely included in that storm as well. You're starting to see that cell interaction, that southernmost cell moving in. It's going to undercut this cell. It may temporarily, for a brief moment, increase the severity of that cell as they battle it out. And then we'll have to watch what it does when it's unified as one cell. That would eventually move into Sebastian County, should it maintain its current track. Large hail, boy oh boy. North of Poto, my goodness, that's going to be some large hail coming out of that storm.
Yeah, radar estimating 1 inch right now. When it was in closer to McCurtain, just to the east of it, did radar estimated up to around 2 inches.
Jeez.
We did get a report just recently in from 4 miles east of Panama, Oklahoma. So still out ahead of it, nickel size hail. So out ahead of it, we're already up to the size of nickels. So we may see some significant hail trying to develop and come into the Panama area.
Just looking off air, we have some other weather products available to us. Just not seeing anything that shows anything different. Ooh, that's picking up. You start to see some purples right there. Bakoshi, just to the east of town. Yikes, that's going to be increasing. And as we know, radar's a bit delayed, so that hail core probably moving over Panama right now. Shady Point, you're probably also getting some hail if you live, let's say anywhere between, let's say, the west side of Spiro along 271. That hail is going to be a problem for you if it's not already. It will be real soon. Likely moves towards Cameron. Pecola, you got some hail moving your way as well. As Hackett, I would also include Hackett in that. Hail and probably some really gusty winds up to about 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'll take this out to the east. We'll keep it about 45 miles per hour and see when it gets into some areas. Let me get that ready. I'll draw it out just
I-40 here at the state line is where this camera is, pointed towards, RDOT saying it's pointed towards the south, but that, of course, 40 running east and west. Heavy rain coming down. It's going to slow some folks down out there. Hopefully no one has to drive through that hail core, although you kind of look right here. You get those headlights coming closer. You can almost see perhaps there is a little bit of hail. It may just be smaller. A lot of lightning. Boy, these storms are electric tonight. Back to Max 1, Cameron, 843, Pecola, that hail core, 846. So you have about 9 minutes to go. Hackett, 851, Midland area, right before 9 o'clock. Greenwood, right around 9 o'clock. Dayton, 907. Milltown, 912 is when that hail core likely moves into your neck of the woods. Coming down that last scan, but boy, that's still some really large hail.
Yeah, and we can go look at velocity, see if this is trying to tighten up again. Let's see if we see anything. We'll look at, we'll go reflectivity. I'll back it up a little bit. We'll get an idea of how it's kind of evolved over the last 15, 30 minutes. That other storm's starting to interact with it a little bit. This is the time where you said, you know, this is where we could potentially see it.
There's a short window.
Yeah,
right?
Pulse up a little bit.
Yep, it's there. Definitely some rotation. So it goes from pretty much nothing. You find some of those reds and those brighters. Look, we might be on the precipice of something trying to really spin up near Panama. Coal Creek, Bedwell, right there, Shady Point. This is our general area of rotation. What's happening here, those two cells are merging. And they're going to be fighting. And oftentimes when these cells can interact like that, they can merge together, there is a short period of time in which that enhances the potential we could actually get something to spin up and make contact with the ground. That may be what's happening right now. Generally speaking, that doesn't last long. Trained storm spotter now confirming a rotating wall cloud west of Cameron. That's going to be on Highway 112. So that's probably exactly what we're looking at right here. Cameron is going to be here. He's west of Cameron. He's on 112. That storm spotter has been trained to know what to look for, and he's reporting to us a rotating wall cloud as those storms begin to interact. We're starting to see that beginning stages. We hope that that southern cell is going to overtake it. Rotation has increased there. Starting to see a couple more pixels in that general area, whereas we went from pretty much nothing to now we're starting to see rotation come together. It's tighter. We're finding these reds, these greens, more compact, tighter wound up together. We might be dealing with something here real soon.
Yeah, the National Weather Service confirming what you've been talking about here for the last few minutes, that it's likely the interaction of this thunderstorm to the south. So, again, just confirmation of what we're seeing here. Other very smart meteorologists as well also seeing that too. So we're getting that confirmation is always good when you're doing this live.
Sure.
You wonder sometimes, am I the only one seeing this?
Yeah.
So it's good when others are seeing it as well.
Yep, unfortunately so. I wish we weren't seeing this, but at this point, we have Doppler radar indicated rotation. We have a storm spotter confirming a rotating wall cloud. We need to give a couple more scans. The National Weather Service out of Tulsa likely also going to give it a couple more scans to go. If that rotation maintains itself or it increases, they'll go ahead and issue a tornado warning. At that point, unfortunately, we'll have to interrupt regular programming on Channel 5 to bring folks some life-saving information. Don't want to do it. Don't want a tornado. Would love for these storms just to fizzle out. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality we're dealing with tonight. Rotation's right here in Panama. It co-locates exactly where the hook is. So here's your inflow. Warm, moist air continue to flows into that storm. You're getting some interaction from that southernmost cell, and it's probably enhancing that rotation as they begin to merge into one.
Likely seeing those winds picking up on Highway 271. You're seeing those brighter greens showing up. So maybe some RFD on the backside starting to swing around a little bit.
I'm going to look at the upper levels and just see if that's maintaining itself. The higher we turn that radar beam. Yes. In fact, I'll tell you the top of this storm's spinning much stronger than the bottom half is. It's not uncommon, right? But tells us we got something going on right here. That would eventually track towards Cameron, eventually into western Sebastian County, if that happens. Poto, while you're dealing with the severe thunderstorm right now, the tornado threat would be off to your north, should that materialize.
And again, tracking the hail core for the folks watching around Van Buren, Fort Smith, Barling, Lavaca, Alma. We'll continue to track this, but as it looks right now, it will stay to the south. It probably just dropped a lot of hail there to the northwest of Panama. New hail core swinging around off towards the southwest.
This is at least 1 inch hail. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even a little bit stronger hail. Okay.
Getting some reports there.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on that one just for the time being. Yep, it's that rotation strengthening, folks. The rotation here is strengthening. The tighter reds, greens, they're brighter. So it tells us not only is the spin happening, it's happening faster. So we're going to loop this. You see it really coming together right there. Right there's your spin, right over Panama. Rotation developing over Panama. Have spotter with an eyes on a rotating wall cloud. It's part of two different supercells that are merging. And the science tells us that when two different supercells begin to merge like that, there's a brief period of time, generally only a couple, 4, 5, 6 minutes, in which you could see the uptick in that rotation. The question now becomes, is that going to be enough to prompt a tornado warning? Rotation's coming up here in Panama. It goes from pretty much nothing to starting to see a better signal there as those winds and velocities pick up as well. Taking a look there. Can we go back to reflectivity? I want us to see overall structure. What are we dealing with? And maybe we back that out.
You want me to kind of back it up over the last 15 minutes?
Yeah, let's get a history of this. So supercell number 1, supercell number 2, they're merging into one. Your area of rotation going to be here along 271, now just to the east of 271, more than likely, getting close to Cameron. It's tightening up. There's your inflow notch right here. You can refer to that as a hook echo, an inflow notch. Certainly something happening there. Rotation stronger in the higher levels of the atmosphere. We're getting really good data because we're so close to the Fort Smith radar. So we have some degree of confidence that there is rotation developing in the higher levels of the atmosphere. I've been looking at that off air, and we're now starting to see it in the lower levels of the atmosphere as well. Weather Service also now noting that. I promise you, they're going to be paying attention to this cell very closely over the next few minutes. You can almost see the spin to it as well, right? Like you can see that rotate right there. Yep. You back it up and you see that spin. Rotation now to the east of Panama. It's going to move just to the north of Cameron, tracking towards Hackett. Lots of lightning, an uptick in the lightning I'm seeing tells me this is a healthy storm. We're probably in that window in which we could see this strengthening.
Yeah, just I was going to enlarge the lightning a little bit. Sometimes just being able to see that, like you said, we've said this on air before. Lightning, a great indicator of the health of a storm. If lightning starts to go down, storm's weakening. If you ever see lightning pulse up quickly, that is an indicator that a storm is intensifying very quickly, and we're seeing the lightning quickly going up there as well.
So I'm.
Some strong winds to the south of Panama at the very least. Some strong winds to the south of Panama there. Possibly, we talk about this is a severe thunderstorm warning for up to 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's where you would have your strongest winds. Yeah,
it's getting much more organized. Just looking offhand, here's going to be your area of rotation. It's coming together. It's taking shape. It's been trying all evening long. This specific storm has. And now we see the interaction of those two storms. We may very well be dealing with something here real soon. Right now, just severe thunderstorm warned. I keep looking off towards the left. I want to give folks as much heads up as possible should a warning be issued. So I'm just making sure I don't miss something there. It's going to be tracking almost due east. Hackett would be in line to see this area of rotation. Likely just to the south of Pacola. Winds are going to pick up in Pacola. Winds are already picking up in Poto and Cameron. Panama for sure. Oh boy, you're starting to see some really brighter greens there.
Yeah.
It's really coming together. Going to need to see another scan or two. We may just be moments away. Folks up in the booth, I know you're listening, but be ready. We want to act standing by in the booth. Thank you. Tahana, rotation there. Going to be moving towards Williams, Cameron. This is going to be Highway 112. This is where we just had a spotter confirming a rotating wall cloud. As that storm becomes better organized, the upper levels of the structure, they're spinning counterclockwise. And that rotation is going to begin making its way to the lower levels of that storm where that wall cloud is. Next step would be a funnel cloud. And then if it makes contact with the ground, that's what actually defines it as an actual tornado. Messy signal there.
I'm going to loop it for the last 15 minutes.
Okay, so it goes from really strong hook echo there.
Yeah.
Still a hook, still some inflow.
Mm-hmm.
These returns, these reds, these heavy rains, not as pronounced. That's good. Maybe that window's closing. I don't see it yet, but one can hope, right? A lot of hail coming into that storm.
Yeah, very strong.
I
think you're getting a lot of wraparound, some strong RFD at the very least there.
Yeah, at the very least, which is, not great initially, but in the end, if it becomes outflow dominant.
We got a new velocity scan here.
Yeah, it's tight. It's not the most impressive rotation I've ever seen, but it's tight. This camera, folks, that you're looking at, you were looking at there on the left side of your screen, that's Choctaw Casino. Arkansas, Oklahoma state line. You're looking at frequent lightning. That's the storm. We're piercing into that storm. We can't see, of course, through all the rain and the hail, large hail that's coming out of that storm. So we wouldn't be able to actually see the wall cloud, or we wouldn't actually be able to see a funnel if it was there. But we're looking in that general direction. That near constant lightning tells me this storm's healthy. And until we see that lightning come down, until we see the hail come down in this rotation, We're really going to be on our guard very closely for the next few moments. Next few moments will be pivotal to see if this storm can maintain that tightness. The science tells us that window will close and that perhaps the potential may lessen. I emphasize the word may because I've not seen it just yet. Still seeing the spin in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
Getting ready to move towards Cameron, close to the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. Hackett, let's just be ready, okay? Let's just be ready. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning right now. Let's just be ready.
Yeah, you can really kind of see it pinwheel around there.
Yep.
If it does become more outflow dominant, then that's where that surge of wind just to the northwest of Cameron, you want to talk about some damaging wind gusts coming out of this storm, that's where they'll be. And I almost wonder if they'll continue more towards a northeast track there a little bit, maybe turn more east.
Very well could. So you might have heard Zach and I say RFD, rear flank downdraft. It's just that. It's the downdraft of winds on the rear flank of a storm, right? Often that can enhance the development of a tornado as that wind is wrapping around on the backside. But eventually, if it becomes outflow dominant, you don't have a balanced supercell anymore. It's more downward trajectory winds as opposed to a healthy balance of up and down. Very technical way of saying the more RFD, perhaps the better. It becomes more of a damaging wind issue than a tornado issue. An issue nonetheless, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, these storms, they have very strong winds in the mid and upper levels. They have a lot of hail. They have a lot going on. We don't always see those winds make it down.
Zach, I'm going to take control here real quick. I want to just see, I think, on this screen.
You going to tilt it up some?
I thought I could tilt it up. Oh, here we go. Okay, so what I've done, I've changed our radar beam from the lowest levels, and I've said, show me what's higher coming out of the Fort Smith radar, right? Definitely some strong mid-level rotation. Boy, that's some really well-organized mid-level rotation. Question is, can that make it to the ground? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. We don't want that at all. But it's definitely rotating, spinning like a top in the higher levels of the storm. Zach, I'm going to bring that back down, and I'm going to give you control again. It is coming back down. That latest scan shows there's definitely still some rotation. There's definitely some outflow, which is probably that rear flank downdraft, but it's not as strong as it was.
No, no.
And you look at the rain mode, and that actually matches up really well. I'm not letting my guard down yet. We'll continue to track it, but I think maybe that window has closed. Maybe if we get a couple more scans, we can go ahead and say that. Minimally, some damaging winds moving into Sebastian County. That's a problem in of itself. You probably have some large hail, heavy torrential rains. Fort Smith, Pensacola, Greenwood, even parts of Mansfield under a severe thunderstorm warning on account of just the winds and the hail.
I would also watch for some flooding in Pensacola. Look, I mean, Pecola's been getting hit heavy here for this is a 15-minute loop, and look how much heavy rain is still out towards the west and the southwest.
Yep, a lot more of that coming too.
Panama's been getting rained on for quite some time as well. So low-lying porch drainage areas, northern Laflore County into western, northwestern Sebastian County. Watch out for some flooding there. Again, low-lying poor drainage.
Okay, so feeling a bit better than I did about 4 minutes ago with that specific storm. With that said, let's take a broader perspective, Zach. We've spent a lot of time here. I'm acutely aware that not everyone lives in Laflore County, so we have this line of storms now moving through parts of southern Madison, as well as northern Franklin County. Probably got a bit of an outflow boundary right there. I can start to see that line of green winds coming out of it, so the winds are going to kick up. If you live near, let's say, Cass, White Rock Mountain, you probably got some strong winds, maybe a little bit of small hail coming out of that storm. It's not severe warned, which is good. I'm hearing we have Zach Hall, Arkansas Storm Tracker Zach Hall's feed ready. Where's he at? Okay, we think he's on 112 heading towards Cameron. Zachary Hall, Arkansas Storm Tracker. Happy to share his feed with you. We've been in communication throughout the day as he was making his plans to get some vantage points, and we're very thankful. He allows us to share those views with you there on the left side of his screen. Zach's very well trained, knows what he's doing, knows what to look for. So we'll keep that up on the left side of the screen for a few more moments. That storm really tried. It's been trying all evening, but a few moments ago, I thought we were on the brink of a tornado warning. May still be, but I say maybe we're trending in a better direction as that comes closer to the state line, area of rotation anyways.
You know, in this storm, now there is nothing to the south. The nearest storm to the south of this is in northeast Texas. It's just on the south side of the Red River. So I'll be curious, Scott, what's going to happen here. The cell mergers happened. Now we've just got this mess of heavy rain and winds in northeastern Laflore County. Let's say that this continues on here for another 30 minutes to an hour. What do we look like then? Because does this storm try to reorganize as it moves east? You've still got an environment that could help it restructure itself a little bit. That it certainly has absorbed that southwestern storm now. It's fully taken it on.
I think that's a fair point. I think that's a really good point. We've gotten lucky at several junctures between about 3 o'clock today and now, where those southern storms came in at just the right time. They resulted in a merger, and they undercut that cell and prevented tornado genesis from happening. And looking south, I just don't see that. I don't see anything developing out there that could potentially help us out. So, yeah, the imminent threat probably lessened, but that's not to say we might not see an issue here over the next few moments.
Very healthy with the lightning. Lightning's ticked up some
boy,
too.
That's a lot. Ooh,
yeah.
You almost can't even see it. Let's take a look at one of any of our Fort Smith cameras, whatever's easiest for the producers. I'm seeing all of them off screen here, and it is a constant lightning show. In fact, you folks probably in Sebastian County, Laflore County, you were probably hearing near constant rumbles of thunder. You have got a light show if I have ever seen one. This is ACHE, A-C-H-E, and boy, oh boy, it is just near constant, lighting up the western sky. Severe thunderstorm moving through. Large hail possible with this storm, as well as damaging winds up to about 60 miles per hour. Marshall's Museum looks like this. What you're going to notice, a bit better of a vantage point. We're looking at the ground here. Of course, this is the Arkansas River, looking into the Oklahoma side of that storm. Low clouds there, moving into the area. Also, frequent lightning, frequent thunder coming out of that storm. This is electric, but storm's healthy. Like, it may not produce a tornado in the next few minutes, but it's definitely got some structure to it. You see a hail core starting to come down, but look at the hail that thing likely produced just to the south of Panama. Man, that's probably got to be some large hail getting ready to move into Pensacola. Looks like we might have some small hail south side of Fort Smith. Right now, though, the trajectory is a little bit lower in hail size as it moves into western Sebastian County.
Yeah, definitely going to go through some changes here now that that other storm is completely been absorbed, and so I'll be curious to see what's going to happen. I'm looking over here at another radar off to the right and try to see if I can already start to see maybe some cycles happening. I'm not very sure here. I'll tell you, the rain has stayed very heavy around Panama. That's where the heaviest rainfall is, between Panama and Spiro. Definitely to the south of Fort Smith. I mean, you look to the south of Fort Smith, and it is a lightning show. And maybe that hail core, it's getting close to the Pensacola area, right there between Pensacola and Cameron. Hopefully, maybe he continues his downward trend.
New report out of Panama, quarter-size inch hail. 1 inch hail, quarter-size hail coming out of Panama. Looks like they've updated that warning. May have trimmed a few folks out of it. Looks like what that change might be. 1 inch hail, 60 mile per hour winds, Laflore, Sebastian, and Sequoia counties. Perhaps there's parts of Greenwood included, Barling's included in this. Folks traveling along I-540 out of Fort Smith this evening. Probably going to run into at least a little bit of that hail, at least up until you get to 40. And then maybe you're just dealing with a little bit of rain with that storm. I think they're probably going to have to end up extending this warning into southern Franklin, maybe even western Logan counties.
Yeah. I think I would expect it to try to pulse back up. I mean, it's going to have to figure out what it wants to do now, because it does not look anything like what it used to. Very unorganized looking storm here, but in this environment, I mean, again, it is not going to compete with much of anything else. You talked about those storms off towards the north with the outflow boundary there. Those are behind that rain-cooled air. So we talk about outflow boundaries. We're talking about rain-cooled air that now is rushed out ahead of the storm. So as storms fall behind the boundary there, that can often work in our favor, where they are not as strong. They can still be what we would call elevated, so they could certainly be capable of producing some hail. I just looked at the storms there off towards the north in northern Franklin County, far southern areas of Madison County, and I'm not seeing any hail. Very small. I'll even loop it here in the last 15 minutes. So you can see that light gray shading kind of sweeping here behind me. You can see it sweeping across northern Franklin County now, north of I-40 here, Watalula, heading towards, this is all in the higher elevations of Franklin County, heading towards the higher elevations of Johnson County. Maybe dime-size hail there, so that's great. But again, these storms are behind the outflow boundary, so not expected to intensify. We'll watch those, of course. Again, I'll go back to reflectivity. And again, this is just looking at the heavy rain. We've got some lightning there. No real organized structure here. Just a line of storms that is below severe limits and capable of producing at least some gusty winds. You get a thunderstorm like this, you're going to have some gusty winds coming out of it. Again, a lot of lightning. So you're going to hear some of those pings and pongs a little bit in the higher elevations of northern Franklin, northern Johnson, well below severe limits right now. So we'll continue to watch that for you. Going back to the River Valley, again, that's our strongest storm. It is a cluster of storms right now, not organized at all either. But we're going to have to watch and see how it evolves here. Scott, one thing we'd have to watch is if that outflow boundary got far enough south out ahead of it, as it interacted with that, what could happen there?
Certainly a lot of boundary interactions. While you were talking, I just was taking another look on a couple of areas of this storm that are suspicious, if you will. If we want to take a zoom into that, there's really two distinct areas. And I'm going to step over, if you want to move me. There we go. That's actually perfect there. Now back to the west of Panama. What's that doing on the backside of that storm? And what's this doing to the west of Mansfield as it's moving across that state line? Two areas that are suspicious to me at this moment. And I'll just be honest, everything's going to be suspicious to me in this environment. I don't trust any of these storms. A lot of storm fuel, a lot of energy. And this one specifically, boy, it's been trying all night long.
Yeah, absolutely. Initially, the appendage out there back towards the west of Panama, we started to see that one a little earlier, and I was looking at that. I didn't even know how to describe it. I just, you know, it was just kind of like, we're looking at it out there. But here in the last couple of scans, you know, down towards the south, is that an area that could start to develop a strong inflow? And could we start to see some rotation there? That would be the area that you'd probably want to watch over the next 30 minutes or hour.
Yeah. All right, we've got a good look here. 540 at 71. Let's get a look at what that's looking like out there from RDOT. Lots of lightning and thunder. Looking at some of these trees here, looks like they're blowing around pretty well. So I've certainly got some wind coming out of that storm. Thankfully, there's not a lot of folks out there. I wish no one was. Torrential rains. And we're going to see some training, which means we're going to see this storm probably produce a decent amount of rain over the same areas for an extended period of time. Flash flooding may be an issue for us here in and around the Spiro, Pacola, Panama, Fort Smith area over the next couple of hours, in addition to the potential of a strong to severe thunderstorm like we've got right now. This severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for Laflore and Sebastian counties. I'm going to put a time on here of when we expect that to be allowed to expire. That is actually going to be at 9:45, so we have a ways to go before that one is allowed to expire. I suspect that, I'll give you control back again, Zach, I suspect that that storm will probably maintain its strength in a fashion in which the Weather Service out of Little Rock as well as Tulsa will have to issue some downstream warnings. Tulsa responsible for Franklin County, Little Rock responsible for Logan counties. They'll likely coordinate with what that warning would look like. Still watching this. It's trying. It's just really trying to come back together. There's also an area here west-southwest of Greenwood, that inflow notch. Perhaps we got some more warm, moist air funneling back into that cell there. Question is, which direction are those surface winds out of? If they're out of the southwest, in fact, what I'm going to do, pull up the mesonet and just get an idea of where those winds are.
Yeah, and we do have, again, just an area that we're looking at for some gusty winds within the storm coming in on the south side of Pensacola between Rock Island and Pensacola. That's where the strongest winds with this storm right now would be located if we're talking about an area that could possibly see up to those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts that this storm is warned for. Looking at radar, I don't know that. I don't think we're seeing up to 60, but I definitely think we're seeing 30, 40, maybe 50-mile-per-hour winds between Rock Island, Pensacola right now coming down the highway towards Bonanza.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Just analyzing a couple of things again, taking a pulse check on this storm. Look at the lightning increase over the last couple of scans. You know, it was never low. There's a lot of lightning with it always, but I think there might be some more now. As that loops, maybe it's trying to reorganize itself.
I think so.
And I hate to say it, after that cell just merged, and sometimes we can get too close to the radar, and looks can be a bit deceiving. Is this thing trying to split?
Maybe.
Do we have a southern flank here and a western flank, and that's why we're starting to see two distinct areas?
And what he's talking about there, if we did see these storms split, it would be the left mover, so the northwest storm, the Pensacola over to Spiro, that would become a potential hail threat. You could still see a tornado threat doesn't go away completely, but then that southeastern storm, that would be the one where you would be more worried about potentially it really tightening up down the road.
Yeah, just thinking out loud as we track this, you know, the nice thing is on these digital streams, we're afforded that opportunity to just spend some time and really just walk through this in real time. I'd like to be really transparent with what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at. And so I hope that's helpful to you, just to talk out loud and get an idea of kind of what myself is thinking, as well as what Zach's thinking when we look at these storms, tracking them into the area. This is our only severe warning at the moment for Laflore and Sebastian counties. Goes until 9:45. The warning itself is for large hail. Look at this hail track right here. We had 1-inch hail in Panama just a few moments ago, likely continued a little bit further towards the east. Perhaps we're getting some hail in Pensacola and Spiro. 60-mile-per-hour winds probably out of the storm as well. Maybe a couple areas where it's starting to organize itself a bit more. Looking at the winds coming out of it, definitely have some strong winds in Pensacola. Look at that Boeing segment right there.
Yeah.
Hackett, I bet the winds just really picked up in Hackett. Likely those winds getting ready to blow across 71 here real soon. Here's Greenwood right here. I bet we're going to see some winds maybe on the west, north side of Greenwood. The question is, do those winds start to turn? I'm not seeing that rotation at the moment. Perhaps we're starting to see some structure changes again. Looks like Weather Service also seeing that as well. Maybe in this general area we've got something going on. Minimally the winds, damaging winds, straight line winds. Let's go back to reflectivity. What's the storm structure look like? And that's really exactly where you would expect it. You're getting really close to the radar site.
Again, areas of Fort Smith under the severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45, but the worst of it has been off towards the south. You always got two areas of the storm here, which we were just talking about. You've got the Hackett to Greenwood to Barling area that's moving to the east, but then it's the storm out towards Spiro and Fort Coffee that may lift. That's trending towards Fort Smith or the west side of Fort Smith, maybe up towards Roland. So we're watching. There's multiple areas moving away from you in Fort Smith, but there are still some areas that could shift your way. You get another round of some heavy rain and some lightning. Right now, the last couple looks of the hail core, though, have been trending down, so that's good. Currently, right now, is a minimal hail threat with this storm. More of a wind threat's kind of picked up, but that's a real localized area around the Pensacola, Hackett areas, shifting towards maybe Fort Chaffee.
Let's take a look at the ACHE camera when we get a moment. And after that, if you can, let's check in with Storm Tracker Zachary Hall if we want to get that queued up for after this. Okay, not good cell coverage there. The ACHE camera right here, I was looking at the trees in the bottom left side of that camera's box, and you're noticing those winds are whipping those tree limbs around. Definitely got some wind. So this is going to be on the south side of Fort Smith where this camera is. Looking back off towards the southwest. Of course, it's dark off towards the southwest, but those winds still a problem for us. Wouldn't be surprised if we're not seeing that hail really come back into play as well. I don't think it ever totally went away in Laflore County, but I think we're probably going to see those pick back up. Let's take Zachary Hall back real quick and get an idea of what he's seeing on the ground there. So this is going to be Arkansas Storm Tracker Zachary Hall. Looks like he's parked. Looks he's got his headlights pointed into an open field. There may be some structure there. One of the things that we look at when we're storm chasing, or when storm chasers like Zach Hall, you really got to rely on the lightning strikes to backlight these nocturnal thunderstorms. It can be a bit scary because you may not have this frequent lightning as what we're seeing out there tonight, but the good news is we do have that much lightning. At times, you just got to look really closely, see what you're seeing. Nothing evident on his stream right now. And he's on this storm specifically, so he's certainly on a good one. We'll need to continue to make sure we've got eyes on what's happening out there. Weather Service trimming up this morning a bit. POTO no longer included. But notice this. Zach, you may have noticed this already. They kept the warning for both flanks of this storm.
Yeah.
If it is in fact splitting, they're going to keep the warning for it, which tells me they might be seeing the same thing we're seeing as the secondary flank. The one will really want to watch for the potential of rotation, gets ready to move into Greenwood. Mansfield, you're probably going to see the rain pick up here real soon too. Winds are going to get breezy as well. And then I really think maybe if there is any rotation, in fact, it's probably a good time to go back and take a look at it. It'd probably be getting close to the Greenwood area. Right in this area, not there. Perhaps we got something. Okay.
It's tough because we're in that area where you see the green is moving towards the radar, that donut hole there to the right under Fort Chaffee, where and then the red is moving away from it, and we're in that area where we're transitioning as the winds are passing by the radar. And you alluded to this a little while ago. It can kind of be messy when we look at the structure here, whether we're looking at winds, we're looking at rain. It's just, you love to be close to the radar, especially when we know we're tracking a tornado, because again, we're seeing the lowest levels of that storm we can see. But then sometimes when you get too close, and in a time when you're trying to figure out and really break down what you're seeing, you have to wait a couple more stands and let it kind of get away from the radar again.
Sure. Take me to 540 in Ginny Lynn, please. Let's see what things are looking like out there. A couple of cars traveling. Torrential rain continues. You look towards the sky. It's just staying lit up. You're seeing near constant lightning strikes out there. Numerous cloud to cloud as well as cloud to ground lightning. Would not want to be outside this evening. Lots of water on the road. Flash flooding may become an increasing concern for us here. This is going to be 540 in Ginny Lynn right there. Zach, you just had that on velocity, and something caught my eye. If we want to bounce back to that, seeing an uptick here just to the north of Mansfield of those winds. Perhaps we're still seeing something between Fox Hill, County Road 127, just to the south of Excelsior, north of Midland. There's also this area right there. That doesn't exactly match up, but perhaps that storm might be shifting just a bit. Lock the merger. Okay. Certainly something to watch right there. Maybe there is a little bit of rotation trying to develop. It'd make more sense if it was that southern area right there. So you got the greens here, winds blowing towards your Fort Smith radar, reds blowing away. Where they meet up, maybe there's a little bit of something happening near Midland. Could be something happening here. Then that just doesn't make sense on that part of the storm. So I would lean towards this being probably an area of interest, if anything at all. You loop it, and it certainly does make a little bit more sense when you loop it. It starts to develop right there, becomes a bit more pronounced. Still not very well defined. But it does tells me this storm's not done.
Yeah.
It's not done at all.
And you've got strong winds crossing Highway 71 to the west and southwest of Dayton and Mansfield. So if you're in between Dayton and Mansfield, you'll likely notice those winds picking up here in the next couple of minutes.
Pulling up some experimental data that the Weather Service has been utilizing that Zach and I found to be incredibly helpful. Was it yesterday morning, a couple mornings ago?
Yeah.
Time's really
Early
escaped
Tuesday.
me. Yeah. Just wanting to get an idea of what some of this might look like going into the future. It's not loading. It's probably under high demand right now. That's not as impressive as it moves away. It's getting kind of messy. This one, though, I mean, this left one, it's almost not moving at all. So that's where we start to see that training. This area is certainly probably going to be prone to some flash flooding. I think this is where we've had some hail as well, which would be common in a left split like that.
Yeah, I can pull up the hail tracker here. We can kind of get our last 15 minutes. Hail starting to pick up there around Mansfield. So seeing some very small hail there, far southern Sebastian County.
Is that an uptick in that updraft? That would be,
yeah.
That would help explain why there might be some swirling of the winds there.
I can also, I'll make the lightning strikes a little bit larger and see what those look like over the last 15 minutes. It is just so messy. You have two storms that were doing their own two things, merged, and have not figured out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like, what it looks like too. This one may eventually bring in some more hail to Fort Smith, may eventually bring in some heavier rains as well. Both of these generally tracking off towards the east-northeast. So folks in Charleston, you're going to see the rain here pick up real soon. Hopefully that hail keeps coming down and you won't see any hail. Hopefully it's just a heavy rain. Lots of lightning, lots of thunder going through Greenwood right now, Fort Chaffee as well.
And that's our only severe warned storm. Though the lightning's ticked up on the backside of that thunderstorm crossing out of Franklin County into Johnson County there in the higher elevations there, so the Boston Mountains.
Yeah, so Arkansas Storm Tracker Zachary Hall is feed back up. You said he was near Hackett, is that correct? Highway 10 near Greenwood, I'm sorry. Highway 10 near Greenwood. So he's getting close into that torrential rainfall. You can see all the lightning on our maps. You can see the lightning on his stream there as well. So he's probably going to be traveling, going to try to get out ahead of this storm. If I had to guess, that's going to be his movement. Here's Greenwood right here. Old Jenny Lynn, of course, here's 71, Excelsior. Hackett, rain's coming to an end. Lightning's going to continue. Could get a bit breezy out there on the backside of that storm as well. Milltown, and this is going to be, my eyes aren't good enough for that. It's going to be Dayton Road. That spurs off of 71. So that's going to be where we would expect heavy rain. We're seeing that. His windshield wipers are just a blaring. Looks like he's making eastward progress, coming up on the backside of this storm. He'll have to drive through that heavy rain. What he's probably trying to do is get out ahead of it in case it does try to spin something up. He'll have a better vantage point. He's going to have to do what's called core punching, which is driving through the highest precipitation, or sometimes where the hail's at. Not exactly the best thing you want to be doing, but he's very well trained, knows what he's doing. And we appreciate him sharing his stream with us here tonight. All right, live radar. Let's do our area-wide reset. We've been really focused on this storm for really good reason. It's been the most severe. Here's Franklin County. A lot of lightning and a lot of thunder with that storm north of 40. That's going to be moving through Watalula, Barnes, Cass, getting ready to move into Johnson County outflow boundary. It's going to start kicking up winds here in Clarksville, Knoxville, Clarksville, Hartman. Definitely those winds are going to be picking up. Those winds funneling out of that storm, probably non-thunderstorm winds. That's just the outflow, the push of cold air coming out of the bottom side of that storm. The storm itself, very electric, northern Franklin County, northern Johnson. It's probably going to be capable of producing some hail as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see some hail coming out of that storm. It has ticked up. Hail continues. That's going to be close to Cass, Turner Bend. Eventually you get into the Batson area. We're in the Ozarks. We're in the Boston Mountains. High elevation here. That sometimes can have a pretty strong influence on the behavior of these storms. So we'll have to watch to see if that changes anything with regards to that. But hail and wind going to be your primary concern north of Ozark. Ozark, you're probably hearing a lot of lightning and thunder, but worst of the storms off to your north. That's going to be crossing the Pig Trail pretty much right now. The worst of it has. Probably still continuing to see some hail with that storm. But boy, oh boy, the hail out of this one south of Spiro, it just continues to have been impressive over the last few scans. That's going to get ready to move. Perhaps if that, go back to reflectivity. Before I say that, let me check myself.
That's part of the hard part here with the tracks is that it lingers once fell, and then but the issue here was most of these storms are progressive, they're moving on. We had initial thunderstorm come through and drop the large hail there in northwestern Laflore County, and then we had other storms redevelop, kind of train over the area. The hail has ticked down in Laflore County, but we're still seeing the image of what happened about 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago or so. So good news is the hail has come down. And the trend is that way. Yeah. Bad news is we're seeing what did happen 30, 45 minutes ago, and certainly looks like we had some hail larger than a quarter, maybe golf ball size hail there briefly in northwestern Laflore County.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to take another look at the ACHE camera when we can, looking on the backside of that storm. So this is going to be here in South Fort Smith. Probably give us a pretty good vantage point. I'm looking at it off screen over here, not finding as much lightning occurring there. So perhaps a good trend. Lightning nonetheless continues. Heavy rain on the south side of Fort Smith. That storm definitely showing some signs of weakening. Mansfield, you've got a severe thunderstorm moving through. The question now becomes, as we approach the Franklin-Logan County lines, what's going to happen? Are we going to extend that warning out further? That would include Booneville, Charleston, more than likely, with the specific cell that's moving through parts of Greenwood right now. If you're living along 22 between Greenwood and Charleston, that cell probably going to produce some heavy winds, heavy rain, maybe even a little bit of hail as well. Yeah. I'm seeing just shy of an inch. So we're right below that severe weather threshold. To trigger a severe thunderstorm warning for hail, you got to have 1 inch in diameter. Radar indicating we're just shy of that right now. It's possible Weather Service goes ahead and issues that warning anyways, just on account for how close it is. Looks like they're about to share an update. You can see them getting ready to prepare that. Some scattered showers, southern Franklin County, those could pick up, could fill in the gap here as that moves towards Johnson and Logan counties. Paris, you've not had much go on this evening. It's been pretty uneventful, as has in Booneville. That activity is getting closer. Boy, this system has really slowed down over the last little bit. Looks like they're doing some warning maintenance, new warning flashing here, kind of reshaping that, going to extend that out. Keeping the current expiration time 9:45, so got about 25 more minutes to go. Current time here right at 9:21. So looks like they're going to keep that on account of the two different distinct areas. Boy, it's really interesting to look at the lifespan of this specific cell. It was two different cells merged together as one, really tried to pulse up, got close to producing a tornado, did produce a funnel cloud, confirmed reports of that, and now it's trying to split apart again as it crosses the state line. Really strange behavior there. Very curious as to why it's actually doing that. Weather Service will have to help us find out. Greenwood, Mansfield, strong thunderstorm moving through southern Sebastian County, almost all of Sebastian County, really almost all included in that severe thunderstorm warning that runs till 9:45. So we have some time to go. It's getting close to the county line though, so Weather Service in Tulsa and Little Rock is going to have to decide, do they issue up a new warning downstream ahead of that? I don't see why they wouldn't, just given how large the hail potentially could be. Probably anywhere between nickel. Some of the larger stones could be as large as 1 inch. So we're actually trending back up towards 1 inch with that latest scan. So it certainly could be possible there. Northern Johnson County, that storm continues to show some strength. It's not severe. You got winds blowing out of it. If you're in Clarksville, your winds are about to kick up. You might not even get much rain out of that specific cell. Maybe some of these scattered downpours may organize into something a bit more impressive, move your way, bring you some rain. Right now, though, Clarksville's looking okay. Hail's coming down as that storm crosses out of Franklin into northern Johnson County. Some hail nonetheless, small hail. Looks like hail's picking up here just north of Mansfield, south of Greenwood. Around an inch, maybe a little bit less than that in diameter. Just for some context, that's the size of a quarter. So just something to note.
Yeah, again, they continue to keep that storm warned there in Sebastian County. And it's hard to tell what they're going to do here sometimes. I could see potentially where they'll be watching, I think, very closely the thunderstorms right there around Mansfield. Kind of see, does that continue to evolve a little bit? Is that a new area that tries to take on a life of its own? The area to the north there around Greenwood, not looking very organized at all, just looks like an area of thunderstorms. I'm not seeing strong winds within these storms right now either, but there are some stronger winds picking up right around the county line, so should be coming into the Charleston area soon. I could put velocity on there, and you could see some of the brighter reds and pinks showing up. So if they were going to continue it, I don't think it would right now be for the hail. I think it would be for, maybe these winds picking up, maybe these storms just gusting out.
Yeah, perhaps so. Gusting out would be a good thing. That would be great if they could just gust themselves out. Looks like some winds might be picking up on the southern flank of this cell too. Maybe something going on there. It's messy, but something. It's co-located with where there's a lot of lightning. What's that look like on reflectivity there? I have a point here. It doesn't match up. Wouldn't make sense. At least I don't think that would make sense on the backside like that. That cell, you're right. I think not only are you seeing lightning come down, reflectivity isn't showing as many of these reds as we once were.
Right.
Perhaps that tells us some intensity of the rain and the hail, of course, also coming down. So maybe that's trending in a better direction for Franklin and Logan counties. I still think we're going to see a strong thunderstorm from Clarksville through Ratcliffe and Branch and Charleston and Washburn and Booneville. I think we're going to see that strong storm. But you're right. Maybe it's not severe. Maybe we're starting to see those things really wind down.
And it may be that, I mean, again, look at these the new scans coming in, lightning really ticking up around Mansfield. So maybe that area starts to become its own thunderstorm and kind of breaks apart as the rain to the north over time maybe fizzles out a little bit or carries on. But the cell to the south could begin to kind of do its own thing.
Could be. Okay, 9:25 our current time. Scott Covert here, as well as meteorologist Zach Hall, who done a double shift today. And of course, we thank him for doing that. Zach, Scott, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Been talking with, I'm sure that's happened before, right? We've been talking with Storm Tracker Zach Hall, sharing his feeds this evening. Meteorologist Zach Scott doing a double shift with us here this evening. Tracking one severe thunderstorm right now, or at least we've got one warning in effect. It looks like, I wouldn't be surprised, just look how quickly that left mover has really fizzled out. Over the last 15 minutes alone, we go from a lot of these darker reds telling us heavy downpours, probably even a little bit of hail, to now it's mostly just some yellows. So perhaps we're on a good trend, a good trajectory with that system there. The strengthening of this line segment is happening near Mansfield. That's going to move towards Booneville. You're probably already hearing the lightning and the thunder in Booneville and account for all that lightning. Let's take a tighter look at that while we're here. That cell's certainly pulsing up.
Yeah, radar indicating could still be having maybe hail up to the size of quarters mixing in.
Yeah, so here's 71 running into Mansfield, Dayton community as well. Probably getting a little bit of hail right now, minimally some heavy rain, gusty winds, but I bet you're right. I bet there's some hail coming out of that storm. Radar certainly tends to think so. Boy, it's really actually pulsed up over the last couple of scans. That's going to get ready to move into Logan County. Barber right here. Boy, I think we tracked a tornado warned storm, some area of rotation through the same area a couple nights ago. These folks just can't catch a break. I remember it riding really uniquely between that Sebastian, Scott, Logan County line. It's just like we're all three coming together right there. It gets kind of messy on which weather service office does which, but that looks to be the trend right there. Uptick in the hail. Certainly see that in reflectivity mode, starting to see more lightning. Which tells us that storm might be trying to strengthen back up as it moves closer to Washburn and Barber. Going to have some hail likely move into your neck of the woods here real soon. Perhaps that hail continues into the Booneville area as well. Looks like we've canceled Laflore and Sequoia out of that warning. So the new warning flashing right here on your screen doesn't change who's included in Sebastian County necessarily. But as we talked about a few moments ago, Wow, that cell's really just falling apart. Boy, there's nothing there anymore. That's current time. Bacola rains come to an end, at least for most of us, maybe some on the north side of town. This Pacific storm really getting its act together, right, in this general area. Don't entirely love the structure of that. Let's take a look at velocities, make sure we don't have anything there. Folks up in the booth, producer PC, is that Zachary Hall? Thank you. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on his feed over here. Okay. Back to reflectivity.
All right, I'll pause it.
Doesn't really match up.
No, not at all.
So we were just curious if there's anything trying to develop within this hook. I'll put my finger here. We'll look at velocities and not going to anticipate seeing really any actual rotation there. Certainly something to watch. Structure nonetheless has been impressive throughout the course of these storms' life cycles over the last several hours. If you were looking for rotation, I really expected to be out on the leading edge of that system, but not seeing it there either. It's good news. We love that. Really good news. Strong thunderstorm. It's reorganizing though, Zach. It's definitely coming together. Got some scattered showers moving to Charleston, Ratcliffe. That also showing some signs of weakening. Still expecting a really heavy gully washer here in Charleston. Some heavy downpours, maybe even some small hail. Charleston points towards the south. You get to like Rattlesnake Road. The City Lake, of course, there on the south side of town. Rain's going to pick up there. This storm, though, getting ready to move into Logan County. That's going to be the one to watch. Here's Barber. You got those winds picking up. You got the rain coming down. Probably some hail mixing in there as well. That's certainly been the trend over the last few minutes. A lot of terrain here could influence locally some of the storm behavior. What are the winds doing in that specific cell?
Let me pause it.
Definitely some strong pinks there. Brighter colors, probably some winds gushing out of that system. So reds, pinks, that would be wind blowing away from the Fort Smith radar, right? So that means those winds traveling almost west to east. Likely going to see those winds pick up in Booneville. Probably Magazine here real quick as well. We've talked about Logan County. Here's Paris to the north. You're probably going to have some rain move in. The strongest part of that cell right now near Barber. That's going to be the west side of Logan County. Probably going to be in the Booneville area here in the next few minutes. What do you say we put a track on it?
Okay.
I'll give you a speed over here. Right now moving east at 45 miles per hour, so maybe that's picking up a little bit of speed. Zach's going to work up those numbers for us. They'll populate on his screen. We'll get an idea of who exactly is going to be in the path of that stronger part of the storm. Barber 9:30, which is now exactly. Booneville at about 9:38. Driggs, they're in Logan County, 9:43. Magazine, 9:45. Sugar Grove, 9:51. Blue Mountain, 9:55. Corey Heights, 9:58. So that's about 28 minutes from now. Expect some damaging winds picking up in your neck of the woods. Wouldn't be surprised if there's not a little bit of hail. Damaging winds appears to be the primary threat right now. I am actually looking at radar indicated perhaps around 1 inch hail. I guess the question is there some melting happening before it actually makes it to the ground? So those hailstones a little bit smaller, not technically severe limits. We'll see.
Yeah, when we talk about these ridges down here, we talk about these strong winds. If you're up on those ridges, it could be even maximized a little more up there. Yeah,
sure could be. That's actually a really good point. You do start to see some elevation differences here as you get into the Ouachitas. It's got a lot of rain with it, no question about that. I'd say the worst part of the storm has now moved outside of the warning polygon. That tells me the Weather Service may not go ahead and warn that. They might not. Looks like we did have some reports of some tree damage in Huntington, there in southern Sebastian County. Not surprised at all for a couple of reasons. One, winds out of these storms have been impressive at times, but also keep in mind, kind of the threat that we've really been dealing with over the last couple of days is just given how saturated the ground is. So it doesn't take much wind to topple over a tree right now. The ground's really wet, it's loose. so it doesn't take as much, and that's not working in our favor. Leading edge of this system now squarely in Logan County. Perhaps we're getting some winds in southern Franklin County, south of Charleston. But I would imagine the worst of the winds right now on the leading edge of this system here in Logan County, getting ready to move into Booneville here real soon. If it's not wind, you probably got a little bit of hail, a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, near constant lightning and thunder with that specific cell right there. I don't think there are any RDOT cameras in that specific area, but what we might do, in fact, I'm actually seeing it. Can we pull up the Arkansas Valley Electric camera there in Ozark? It's pointed towards the southeast, looking across the Arkansas River. So that camera is going to be right here, pointed this general direction, looking towards really Paris and Booneville. So it's kind of it's going to allow us to see at least part of that cell. So starting to see some of those lightning flashes. And so I would imagine we see an uptick in that. This is again from Ozark. It's tough to see. Here's the river bridge right there. Lightning associated more than likely with that Logan County storm. I want to go to Zachary Hall, Arkansas Storm Tracker Zachary Hall, tracking this storm. I think he's going to be in the middle of this storm. His feet there on the left side of your screen. He's tracking into that. Seeing a lot of lightning and thunder. I'm seeing a lot of lightning there as well. I'm not seeing any damage along the roadways. It looks like everyone's got power. Seeing the lights are on. All good indicators. We'll have to see as he gets closer to this storm. Is it producing any actual winds? Given the fact that he's driving, it's tough to see. Flash flood warning for Laflore County. We talked about that potential need for a flash flood warning earlier. Just given how much rain fell out of that storm, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think what's helping us prevent flash flooding right now in Sebastian and Logan is this storm's picking up some speed, moving now at about 45 miles per hour. If that thing slows down, if it starts to pump the brakes, we'll pick up more water pretty quickly. So certainly something to keep in mind there with that system. Here's Booneville. Here's going to be Magazine. Those are the two towns next in line to pick up some winds, probably a lot of lightning and thunder. It's not severe at the moment. So if we have folks on the stream here this evening from Booneville, right now, we don't have any active warnings for you. Things are staying just below the threshold needed to issue a severe thunderstorm warning. While we're here, we do have a tornado watch in effect for the next hour and a half. Let's just take a look at rotation. Let's make sure we've got nothing spinning up with this specific system. I see mostly just straight line winds, really strong straight line winds. We'll need to make sure there's nothing trying to develop in this little eddy right here. You get little kinks in the line. That can be an area where tornadoes can spin up real quickly. It's like playing whack-a-mole at that point. Happens real quick. They dissipate real quick. Sometimes it actually happens between radar scans, and you never even know it until you get damage reports. So we'll want to pay close attention to that. It's an area that looks suspicious, but nothing more than that.
We did have a flash flood warning issued for the Spiro area.
Oh, I got this cell right here, just sitting right on top of town.
Still got some training. For this area saw 2 to 3 inches of rainfall.
Oof.
So
and
it kind of
continuing.
Yeah, and it shows us probably, from Panama over to Pensacola and areas back towards the west a little bit. Probably as a region as a whole, easily saw 1 to 2 inches.
Yeah. And that's just today, right? That's not on top of everything else we've seen in recent days. Boy, this cell moving into Booneville, I think it might actually have some hell with it. 1 inch is the criteria to issue a warning. We're not seeing that, but I'm seeing a storm structure. Some algorithms that we run off screen that would suggest to me, in addition to what this radar here is trying to show us, there's probably some hail moving into western Logan County. Keep in mind this is delayed a bit, so I suspect when we get the freshest set of data, we're probably going to extend that hail track into Booneville. Hearing some reports in my ear from our producers that we are seeing reports come in from Booneville. 479-785-5000. That's our cell phone number here. You can text reports, photos if you can do so safely. Just be sure to include the location. Location's really key to help us identify where these reports come from. And then what we do is we take those reports, pass them along to the Weather Service, and they're able to better issue warnings and let folks downstream from you you know about the storm that's coming. So again, that number 479-785-5000, the number there on your screen. Pictures, video, again, if you can do so safely. Please don't put yourself at risk just to send us a photo or a video. Not worth it, but we do appreciate your reports this evening. Let's take a look at reflectivity, Zach, on that specific cell.
Yeah, I was just looking at it over here off to the side as well. I'm going to put it on let's do a 30-minute loop. And
okay.
You can just really watch this go from nothing to an organized thunderstorm here and continuing to maybe try to just get a little more organized.
It really is. As that leading edge becomes a bit more well-defined, I have higher confidence that not only is there some hail coming out of it, but perhaps there's a little bit of wind coming out of that as well. In fact, I want to just check in with Little Rock, who's responsible for issuing warnings for Logan County.
Yeah, I switched over as well, and not really much coming out about it. There is a special weather statement for the possibility of some nickel-sized hail and some gusty winds, winds up to 40 miles per hour. And that was at 9:17, so that was about 21 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think there could be some hail coming out in Booneville. Would love to hear from some folks in Booneville. If you want to text us, let us know what's happening there. Winds or hail, I think both are probably pretty likely.
Winds are picking up.
I think so, and there you can see those brighter pinks in this general vicinity stretching back to the Scott, Logan County line. Maybe some rushing of winds in this general area. You start to see those really push near the Tate community. That's going to eventually be pushing close to Blue Mountain. So here's Paris. If you look south, of course, there's Blue Mountain.
It's going to see if the new scan had come in.
It's still maintaining a
it
decent little hail core there. I think we might have 1-inch hail with that storm, if not larger. Really think so. Folks monitoring our text, please let me know if we get any more of those reports. Yeah, I suspect we probably are hearing a lot of thunder in Paris. The worst of the storm looks to pass just to the south of Paris, but our radar estimating 1 inch in diameter. That's about the size of quarters. That's going to be moving through Ione, Carillon, Booneville, Golden City. Some of those smaller but just as important communities, likely picking up some hail.
The next scan may go up a little bit more too.
I wouldn't be surprised. Just seeing some algorithms over here. Wouldn't be surprised one bit if that's not happening. As that storm really, it's organizing itself. It's not done. It's interesting that the left split really just fizzled out. This right split tracking into Logan County, southern and western Logan County. It's really coming together, starting to ingest some of these scattered showers that eventually earlier passed through Franklin County, all becoming one right here with that specific cell in Booneville.
Surprising though, for the hail core picking up, the lightning's gone down.
This picture coming out of Ozark, looking to the west from Kevin Stone. Kevin, thank you for that photo. Be careful out there. These storms are electric. A lot of lightning coming out of these. But you're right. That lightning has it's changed a little bit. It's evolved. Can we go back to Max 1? Thank you, please. Magazine's next. Dregs, you're going to see the wind pick up. Paris, where you're hearing that thunder. You're going to have some moderate to heavy rain. It's moving through Clarksville. It's traveling along 22. It'll be coming into town here real soon. Oh, brand new. There we go. Severe thunderstorm warning. I'll be honest, I was questioning where it was. Given the hail size we're seeing, this new severe thunderstorm warning issued by the Weather Service out of Little Rock, that's going to be in effect until
10:30.
10:30. That includes Johnson, Logan, Pope, and Yell counties. Quarter-size hail, up to 60-mile-per-hour winds with that system. What do you say, Zach? Let's push out a little bit. Let's put a track on where that's going. Who's now included in that warning? Morrison, Bluff, Shoal Creek, Havana, and Danville there in Yell County, Delaware, Knoxville. Now under that severe thunderstorm warning. Is Clarksville included in that severe thunderstorm warning? Yes. Clarksville, Paris, Dardanelle also included in this brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Starting to see a bit of an uptick in the lightning here as that moves out of Franklin into northern and western Logan County. It's close to Paris, right? Things are going to get pretty busy there in Paris here real soon. What's the current speed on that, Zach? They're checking that out at about 45 as well.
45.
Maintaining 45. So we put the track on that. And this is going to give us just some general estimated times of arrival. Paris at 9:43. That's pretty much now. Subiaco, 9:50, just to the east side of Paris. Scranton, 9:55. Shoal Creek right at 10 o'clock. Knoxville at 10:08. Havana at 10:12. London, which is there on the Johnson-Pope County line at 10:19. Winds up to about 60 miles per hour coming out of that cell. Hail to the size of quarters, so 1 inch hail, which certainly is severe. Definitely want to take note of that if you live anywhere in this new orange polygon. That warning in effect until, you told me 10:30?
Yes, sir.
10:30, wow, it's a long one. Includes parts of Pope County, does not include the town of Russellville, though. It does include Danville in Yell County. Is there anything organizing to the north of it? So
I was watching that storm there, riding the outflow boundary a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe tries to do something.
Yeah.
Also, we're starting to see that congealing or that merging into a line trying to happen here in northern Johnson County. So, yeah, maybe that helps us out. We've kind of said it a couple of different times, and it's panned out each time. You always watch that southern cell. So that southern cell right now moving through Booneville. Okay, understood. Thank you. Shoal Creek and Paris, Waveland, Danville, Knoxville, about to get a windstorm minimally 60 miles per hour. I think that hail. Let's go back to the hail product and see. Yeah, I think we've got hail tracking into Booneville. Zach, what do you think?
Well, the last couple scans we were looking at, and then one of them updated there. I think we were right. The last time we were right here, if I can get it to back up, we were expecting 2 scans in a row of it picking up, and it did. Yeah. I'll do a radar estimate. Well, it's going to pick up on the warning now, I think, if I do it. Yeah. Well, the blue there was 1 inch, so maybe up to 1.25 inches.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I actually saw a little bit of hail on the Franklin-Johnson County line right along I-40. So if we want to pump just a little bit further towards the north there, it's not much, but it wasn't there when that cell moved through Ozark. So perhaps near Altus, we get to Coal Hill. I have a little bit of hail starting to develop there on 40. Got to watch to make sure that storm doesn't try to pulse up. That one probably would move a little bit closer to Clarksville. Hail core, it's traveling. It's traveling US north of 64, just right along I-40. So probably had a little bit of hail here at the Vineyards. Here's Whitaker Village. You get on top near St. Mary's Church, probably had a little bit of hail near there. Crossing the county line into Johnson County. It's ticking up. In fact, now getting reports from a storm spotter who I really respect, nickel-size hail in Booneville. Winds gusting at about 25 miles per hour. Looking at that, it's coming together. Not only on the hail product, but the rain product as well, reflectivity. A bit more organized there. Lightning starting to increase as well, getting closer to Clarksville. Not seeing any actual apparent rotation. Good news for us. But certainly an organization that wasn't there a few scans ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, really kind of filling that gap very quickly. We go back in time, and we had a couple scattered thunderstorms detached there in northern Franklin, northern Johnson. And we had a thunderstorm way off towards the south in Sebastian County, and shows you how quickly you can kind of fill the gap, looking like there was going to be some areas of Franklin, maybe Logan County, or even southern Johnson County. We're going to get any rain or storms, and just like that, kind of trying to fill that gap a little bit. A lot of boundaries that we're watching here, but certainly the strongest storm, the one that's moving through the Booneville area right now.
Looks like a couple of showers just to the south of Cedarville that'll get ready to move north of Alma. Nothing to worry about. Garden variety showers that'll be crossing 49 here real soon. This is a look at Coal Hill along I-40. Torrential downpours slowing folks down. I think. I got frequent lightning and thunder. folks are traveling real slowly, so this is going to be right here. Definitely, if there's any hail, they're driving in it right now. I suspect we're probably seeing an increase in that hail size. Wow, boy, it gets really bright out there with some of those stronger strikes. So we're looking off towards the east. So these headlights, folks traveling towards the west, the taillights traveling towards the east. They're driving right into the heart of that storm. Whew. Not a nice night to be out on I-40 there. This is going to be back in Ozark, looking on the backside of that storm, looking towards the east as well. It's electric. So yeah, this is the backside of that storm. Still producing a lot of lightning and thunder. You can also look a bit further into Logan County. You're probably getting some lightning strikes out of that as well. If it was broad daylight, you could probably see the top of Mount Magazine. Can't see that, of course, at night, but this is the general direction where you would be looking at. So that camera sits right here. The rain's come to an end in Ozark. You're looking towards the southeast of that storm moving into Paris. Uptick in lightning here in Booneville. Just had a report of nickel-size hail there in Booneville. Wouldn't be surprised if there's not some larger stones mixed in at times. Paris, that hail. Not all that impressive there. Probably just heavy downpour in Paris. We're going to have to watch to see if there's not a severe thunderstorm warning issued for the northern, midsection and northern section of Johnson County. Clarksville's technically, downtown Clarksville is not in the warning. Parts of southern Clarksville is Spadder, certainly getting closer there to the Arkansas River. You get into Shoal Creek, also included in that severe thunderstorm warning. Worst of which right now likely moving through the middle part of Booneville. Okay, time now 9:48. We've been streaming coverage of severe storms all evening long. Tornado watch remains in effect for about 12 more minutes. Storms are exiting the area. We have a newscast at 10 o'clock. You'll be able to watch that newscast, of course, live as always on Channel 5. We're going to have to end our coverage here to allow our technical crews to get us switched over to prepare for that broadcast. Look, if anything happens between now and 10 o'clock, we're going to cut right back in. Your safety is our priority. We're going to let them do what they need to get us reset. Of course, you can always stream every newscast, severe weather or not, on our free mobile apps. Just search KFSM in any of the app stores. Roku, Amazon Fire Sticks. Also got free apps that allow you to stream our broadcast. It also allows you to stream our old broadcast if you missed one. Really great feature to have right there. We've had our full weather team here all day long providing storm coverage to you. I'm thankful for them. We've had technical crews here working some long hours. And so on behalf of everyone here, thank you for trusting 5 News with your severe weather coverage. Zach Scott doing double duty today, did the morning show today, doing storm coverage for us tonight. Really thank you for that. And you thankfully get tomorrow off. You get to sleep in a little bit. All right, that's it. That's going to conclude our live stream here for tonight. Join us back here for Channel 5 News.